And good evening. We are the Warrant Committee. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct our attendance for purposes of the record?
Sure. We have Dave Humphreys, Tom Caldwell, Lori Connolly, Allison Gagnon. I skipped Jay Funley. Jay Funley. And on Zoom we have Allison Gagnon, Julie Joyce, Christine Cosio, Tim Lyons is here in person. On Zoom is Julia Maxwell, JJ O'Connor, Steve Rhines, Ron Sia, and Judy Steele.
Excellent, thank you. Our first order of business on the agenda tonight is we have a citizen's petition with regards to the speed limits on Chickatobit Road. It's sponsored by 31 members of the town who'd signed a citizen's petition to have that brought to the town meeting. We are joined tonight by way of Zoom by Mr. Jesse Gordon. If we could please hear from Mr. Jesse Gordon. And with regards to the presentation, Mr. Gordon, are you with us?
I am. I'll be on the site in 5 minutes. Up to you.
Yes. Thank you. Would you please state your name and your address for the record, and then would you give us your presentation, please?
We missed that. What was that?
52 West Street, Randolph, Mass.
Right. All right. How would you like to proceed with the presentation materials that you've provided us? Would you like for our clerk?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Did he say Randolph Ave or?
Randolph, Massachusetts.
So the person presenting to us is not a Milton resident, is that what I understand?
That's
correct.
true.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So before we get started on that, it's true is that we have not had, I can't remember having a presentation, an article by someone not from our town, but I think what is important here is that the citizens petition is signed by 31 members of our town. So really, it's their article. It's the citizens of the town have put forward through our process into the town meeting. The purpose of the Warrant Committee is to conduct our hearing and to give our recommendation. So at this point, I think we need to hear what the proposal is, and if Mr. Jesse Gordon is in the best position to be able to provide that to us, then that's my ruling as the chair. Okay, so thank you. Mr. Gordon, would you please proceed?
Yes, my proposal is to vote to remove the home rule petition passed by the Milton Town meeting several years ago, which was submitted to the legislature for the third time this year, to put in a 25-mile-an-hour sign at the intersection of Randolph Ave and Chickatobit in substitution for the Mass DOT recommendation to put in a roundabout. I oppose the 25 mph sign as the sole solution because it basically creates a speed trap for the people of Randolph and for the people of Dorchester who use Randolph Ave as a major thoroughfare. The 25 mph, I just drove through that intersection on the way here. I'm just around the corner now. The 25 mph is surrounded by a 50-mile-an-hour zone and a 45-mile-an-hour zone just to the north, 50 miles an hour just to the south in the Blue Hills. And it would be a sudden change in the speed limit, which is commonly known as a speed trap. I believe the chief of police was asked about enforcement on that road, and he said, well, we don't enforce that very much, but if it's not enforced, it wouldn't have the effect of preventing accidents at that intersection. The purpose of the roundabout and the purpose of the 25 mph sign is to reduce the number of accidents at what is one of the most deadly intersections in Massachusetts. The Mass DOT proposes a roundabout because it would work 24/7, regardless of whether there's a police presence or not, at slowing traffic, and would make it that traffic is slowed for, a half mile south, a half mile north, which is into town in Milton and into the Blue Hills, in Quincy on the way to Randolph. It wouldn't solve the problem, but it would certainly alleviate some of the most deadly aspects because it's a very dangerous intersection, one of the deadliest in the Commonwealth. The objection I have is that the 25 mph would be a speed trap that primarily affects not people in Milton, but people in Randolph and Dorchester who use that road as the major means of commuting. For example, on my way here this evening, I put into my GPS where to go, and it said go through Chicktoppet Road and then make a left to get to Milton Town Hall. I know that the proponents of this home rule petition characterize it as a cut-through, which often it is during rush hour, but from my route here, from my home in Randolph, just off Route 28, this is the major road, and it has been for several centuries, actually. For my stepson who lives in Dorchester, who lives just off Route 28 also, it's the route between us. It's not that it's a cut-through, it's the road. It's a state road that goes through those. That it's a state road is why Milton Town Meeting had to ask for a home rule petition, because Milton Town doesn't have the right to put up signs there. The Mass DOT decided, upon hearing from the Milton Town Meeting and several proponents, to change the roundabout, to institute some changes, but not to cancel the roundabout entirely. I believe that's the intent of the Milton Town Meeting. A representative from Milton came to the Randolph Town Council to address us, I'm a Randolph Town Councilor, to ask for our support of the elimination of the roundabout. And I replied that I don't support the elimination of the roundabout. I support having additional changes that the Milton Town Meeting might want, but not the elimination of the roundabout with a replacement with the speed trap. My real objection to the speed trap is that it would target the people of Randolph and the people of Dorchester, which are both communities of color. I cite in my materials the Massachusetts Uniform Citation Data, which is the standard report produced by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts about police activity and who they stop by race every year. And Milton has a plus 30% differential for stopping motorists of color. Now, I'm not going to discuss why that is, but it's a fact, and it would be exacerbated by having another speed limit with the police enforcement along Randolph Avenue, which is heavily used by the people of Randolph and the people of Dorchester, who are majority-minority communities. The numbers that are for Randolph on that same road are only a plus 5% differential. That means that the police in Randolph on the same road, just down the street, stop motorists of color 5% more than they stop white motorists. In Milton, that disparity, that differential as they call it, is much higher. It's plus 30% and it's minus 30% for white motorists. Now, I'm not saying that the Milton police should change their practice. What I am saying is that it's a fact that that differential is high for Milton and not so high for other towns. And it's a fact that if we had a 25 mph speed sign there that was enforced by the police, it would make that number, that percent differential, even higher, because it's majority-minority communities on both sides. I don't think the people of Milton want that number to be higher. I think the people of Milton want that number to be lower and didn't fully realize when they asked for this home rule petition what the effect would be on that racial disparity in Tiffany. That's the gist of my presentation.
May I ask sort of
Jay.
factual question? Hello, sir. My name is Jay Fundling. I'm a warrant committee member. I just want to be sure I understand the background. I apologize. So, dumb question. Right now, the speed limit is not 25 miles per hour, or is?
Right now, the speed limit is just south of the intersection is 50. At the intersection, I'm not sure what it is. I guess it's 50. And just after the intersection, driving north, 45. Driving south, out of Milton, it's 40. And then it increases to 50 when you hit the Quincy border.
Thank you. So the 25 that we're talking about is not in, I told you it was a dumb question. The 25 miles per hour is not in place now. Thank you. My other question, right. And I apologize if you don't know, but did you say this was requested by Milton Town Meeting?
Yes.
When was that?
I believe it was, well, let's see, it was 3 legislative cycles ago, so that would make it about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It was submitted as a home rule petition and did not pass in the first session. That's 2 sessions.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to remember when town meeting voted on this, and if I can, jog my memory or see the warrant from the time or something. So about 4 years ago. I don't know if anyone else knows.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a little legislative history in the notes.
2020,
Just
okay.
before the first introduction.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was talking and you were talking. Can you repeat that?
I have a little legislative history in my notes there. It would be just prior, at the Milton Town meeting, prior to the first introduction 2 legislative sessions ago.
Thank you.
Jay, does that, do you have?
Yes, those are my
Thank you.
questions. Thank you.
Kristen?
You're on mute, Kristen.
Sorry. It's my understanding that the home rule petition expires after 2 years. So this is not in fact a home rule petition. This was a separate bill that was separately filed by our 3 legislators in town. So I was just understanding this article here is to recall the home rule petition, but how does that apply if this isn't actually a home rule petition?
So, yes, it is true that all legislation expires at the end of the session, which is after 2 years. It did expire in January 2023 when it was introduced and it passed the legislature. It was just called being pocket vetoed. It was passed but not signed by the governor, so it expired when the new session took effect in January 2023. It was then reintroduced in the current session, so it's a new bill in the current session under the number that I specified. And I believe it's still a home rule petition. It's in the form of a home rule petition, starting with notwithstanding GL. So I believe it's still called the home rule petition requested by the Milton Town meeting, but it is in fact a bill in the current session. And it would expire at the end of the current session, which would be January 2025.
Dave, do we have any clarification on that from town council?
So I think I took a look at that, Tom and I took a look at that, and we talked with the town administrator, Nick Milano, and our reading of it is that's true, is that the recently filed, so if you look at the wording of the citizens petition, it's to direct our town delegation to withdraw the bill. It's named, the S, and there's a number, and that is a specific bill that's been filed with the legislature, which is a different bill from the previously filed bills that went through certain iterations. They were renumbered from time to time. So that's what this is to direct our town delegation to withdraw that bill. So issues about whether it's home rule or not home rule, and whether it expires after a certain period of time, I guess are relevant, but I don't think would be the determining factor here. Because if we were to say vote in favor of this, the direction would be clear: withdraw that bill. Okay? So that's our read on it, and just waiting. I mean, eventually it would last, but I think the point here is that our viewing of the legislative history is that the bill has come out of committee and is proceeding as a live, actionable bill. Okay? So there is a case or controversy at hand here. Mootness is not an issue. Okay?
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, Julie.
I had a question, and that was sort of what my question was so we're being asked to vote against this moving forward with the roundabout and with the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. Is that correct?
So I think that what the citizens petition is to have us withdraw, is to ask our delegation to withdraw the legislation with regards to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's hard to know. Okay, roundabout. Withdraw our support from roundabout. My understanding is what we're being told by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who's in a position to make the determination based on their criteria, safety being a big one, how they're going to handle the intersection of Route 28, commonly referred to as Randolph Road, and Chickatabbits Road. They have chosen to go by way of a roundabout, which is not a rotary, Anyway, so they're going to proceed, and the steps to be taken in that direction are proceeding as well. Environmental studies, engineering studies, et cetera, et cetera. So everything we're hearing at this point is they're committed to roundabout. That being said, the request is a simple one. It's to direct the delegation to withdraw the bill. There's reasons that were given, we can discuss. Members can have their own reasons that they want to bring to the table, but that's the request, okay?
So can I ask, so we're asking them to withdraw it without giving them anything else in instead, and just a blank withdrawal? We're not asking for, because I'm assuming this is, and I grew up off of Saskatchewan Ave, so I am well aware of the disaster that Randolph Ave is. So, so we're just pulling with no alternatives or no other. And then what happens then? Is it just dead and it'll be another 10 years before anybody, that's my concern, is that if we pull this 100%, that we're going to stop any momentum on maybe savings in lives.
Mr. Chair, for you?
Right, go ahead, Mr. Gordon.
I wondered about that myself, and the S2301, the legislation, the home rule petition, does not say the full story. It only says put up a 25 mph sign. It implies don't do the roundabout. And I think that Mass DOT understands that those two are conjoined with each other. It would, by removing the request for the 25 mph sign, and therefore not having a conjoined commitment to not having a roundabout, it would mean proceed with the roundabout. Now, it doesn't say that in the legislation, nor in the withdrawal of the legislation, but I would interpret, and I believe Mass DOT would interpret, that as the meaning.
Oh, so can I ask, are you against any sort of limiting the speed on the road at all? Or?
No, not at all. For you, Mr. Chair. If there were, in fact, a 25 mph speed limit along with the roundabout, I would be very happy with that. I think it's a very reasonable solution that would actually save lives and make it a safer intersection. And for that matter, the signs themselves would give people a warning that there's a roundabout coming, which might be a surprise when you're cruising down that road through the Blue Hills. So I have no objections to that. I also have no objections to the other changes proposed by many advocates for Milton to, add an additional light or additional turn signals or additional turn lanes. All of those things are okay. The only thing that I find objectionable is the police presence, because it targets the people around. And
okay, so and I understand that, but my speed kills, and those a lot of those people who died were also people of color from Dorchester and from Randolph too. So we have to keep that in mind. But we need to protect everybody. That road's a death trap. And somebody who watched that as a disaster growing up, that's a scary place to try to turn on and off of, and we see it on a regular basis every day. So I agree that we don't want to make it easy for people to be targeted, but I do think we have to really be concerned about those lives as well.
So if I could just ask a question, Mr. Gordon. So it sounds like what you're saying is that the issue isn't really, you like the idea of a roundabout. The issue isn't really the speed limit. the issue is the police enforcing the speed limit. So isn't this really,
Yes.
the better argument would be that we should remove our police presence from the entire town? Because I would imagine that that intersection is not the only place if the police are pulling over people of color in greater numbers than they exist in our demographic. That would occur throughout the entire town. So what we should do is we should remove the police from the entire town and not just that one intersection. Isn't that a better argument?
I would make that argument. I'm not making that argument. I'm only talking about one intersection, and there's an implication for the uniform citation data because of that intersection. If Milton wanted to deal with their general uniform citation data in a bigger picture, that's certainly the prerogative of the people of Milton. This is the issue that's before the legislature now, so I'm only talking about this particular issue. And whether what you say is true or not is beyond the scope of what I'm referring to here. I'm only talking about one piece of legislation and the effect of that piece of legislation. And I certainly agree that having a lower speed limit there is a good idea. It's the police presence that accompanies the lower speed limit without the presence of a roundabout, which would cause it to be a speed trap. It's the speed trap aspect that I oppose, not the lower speed limit and the safety effect of that, not the traffic slowing effect either.
Judy.
Thank you. Here, I just need to become unconfused. This citizens petition is asking our town to go to the state representatives in our town. I guess Mr. Driscoll, Mr. Timothy, and Miss Brandy Luker. Yes, did I get them all? Anyway,
Yes.
so it's asking us to go to these three people. Have we done that before, Mr. Chair? I'm talking to you, Mr. Chair, not to presenter.
I think it looks like we've done it in reverse. It looks like town meeting did, with the citizens of the town, directed them to file a petition to have the 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. So while it looks like we haven't, I'm unaware of an occasion where we have affirmatively asked them to withdraw something, but it's like we've kind of done it, but in reverse. So what we're asking them to do, that though this particular bill, it looks like was done independently of a home rule article at town meeting. So this particular one was not done at the request of the people. I guess what we would be doing now is saying where we once directed you to file, it now comes to pass that we now direct you to withdraw. Okay?
And this, if I may, to make sure I'm understanding correctly, that would be our town government that's asking this, i.e. the select board or the town administrator. Would that be correct?
Well, the source of power in our town government is the people. And the citizens petition exists sort of as a direct democracy kind of situation, I guess. So I think that the power is vested in the citizens of the town to direct this. You know, by citizens petition. It could happen a different way. The select board could take it upon themselves to make it an article, give it to us. But this is one of the ways that, you know, the citizens of the town can be heard.
Thank you for that. I'm unmuted. May I ask another question?
Sure.
Thank you. The presenter, do they have specific data, verifiably, for one road only within the zip code of 02186, and that would be Randolph Ave, data only for police pullovers for that one road only? Is that available? Now, I understand police would have to go to the scene of an accident on this one road only, Randolph Ave, and perhaps could conclude from investigation of the accident that a speed might have been a factor in this accident. That's separate from turning on the lights and pulling someone over to give them a speeding ticket. So is there data, hard data available for how many times vehicles have been pulled over and race notated? That's my question. I guess to the presenter.
Sure, so I've arrived at Town Hall, thank you.
Oh, come on up.
Thank you.
Have some gum if you like.
I can only speak, through you, Mr. Chair, I can only speak to what's in the Massachusetts Uniform Citation data, and they don't record the full extent of what the questioner was asking. They do record the number of people stopped, the number of people ticketed, and the number of people arrested by race, with several categories, as their annual report. They don't.
And that's for our whole town, not just this one specific spot of our town.
That's correct, yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So the data that you're presenting, saying that this could harm certain people, is a false indicator. Because, our town may seem small, but we got a lot of streets in our town where folks might not see that speed sign on Canton Ave, which is 30 miles an hour, and might be going 40. And maybe there's a speed trap, as there sometimes is on Canton Ave, and someone gets pulled over. So that data of Canton Avenue is commingled with Randolph Avenue and does not give, in my opinion, a good indicator that this could harm people more on that particular road. And that was, I guess, Mr. Chair, it started as a question and sort of ended up as an analysis of the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve.
Okay, thank you. So in the background, I was trying to pull some information about accidents on that road. I've driven on the road a bunch as well, having lived here for a while. For me, I'm looking at that data, it's 2020, and what I'd like to see in that information too is more information around the safety. I see information about there's the table in there around pulling people over. I see that, I think that's valuable, but I think the main argument here is also around safety. I don't see that in that information. Am I missing something there, or is that forthcoming? I guess that's a question for the presenter.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The safety information and the full analysis of the accident rate and how it would be reduced is in the Mass DOT report about the same intersection. The Milton Town Meeting's response with the 25 mph request instead of the roundabout counters that safety analysis. Mass DOT, they are the experts on transportation issues and transportation safety, and in their view, a roundabout, which I think we heard here already, is a small rotary, not a full-scale rotary. A roundabout would be the way to most safely conduct traffic at that intersection in a calmed manner and in a safer manner, reducing primarily the number of deadly accidents. I did read the report that underlies the Mass DOT analysis, and basically they said, this is not going to reduce the number of accidents, it's going to reduce the number of fatalities, which is their goal. It's not to say we want to make it that there's never an accident there. It's quite possible, and the Milton presenter at Randolph Town Council said explicitly that there would be more accidents because people are more likely to hit the roundabout structure itself, for example, but they wouldn't be fatal accidents. And I've experienced some of the accidents at that intersection myself, typically when I'm on the 240 bus. And what happens is the bus stops, and I have to walk 5 miles home because there ain't no way that they're going to clear it in the next 2 or 3 hours. And that is the real issue that Mass DOT is trying to prevent is when you have a fatal accident, they basically close that road, which is the only road to get from Dorchester to Randolph through Milton. Once you get south of there, it's the actual only road through the Blue Hills. So that's the situation they're trying to minimize, is the number of closures due to fatalities. The full accident data itself and the full safety analysis is in the underlying report. I do link that from that website, randolphpetitions.com. I think I do, and if I don't, I will tonight. But I understand that the safety issues are the real issue here. I'm responding to the rejection of the Mass DOT's safety analysis.
And that bus is a bad bus, right?
There's both the BAT bus, which is the number 12, and the MBTA number 240, number 240A, and number 240H. They all go through there.
We're not fans of MBTA around here.
Okay, I think that's helpful. I mean, I'm taking into consideration there's streets in Milton, like Kane Avenue, where speed limit's like 25 miles an hour, right? And that's not as winding as that. So I think reducing that speed limit on that road down to 25 is actually not a bad move. I mean, enforcement is an issue that I think all towns struggle with. I think Milton struggles with it simply because of not having, a 100 police officers to cover all streets across. So when they're in those areas, they're targeting people probably to slow people down or just slow them down. And I think another piece of analysis that would be interesting to data would be how many of those people that are pulled over are just given a warning? Because I'm sure that's quite a bit as well. I'm just curious. I think there's just some data that I'd like to see in there. Safety's a big one. Also comparative analysis of streets like that with the speed limits on there as well. I mean, in 2 minutes of research, I was pulling massive density of accidents all the way through there. So I'd like to see more information, please.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to go. It's Tim, Julia, Lori. Tim.
I question the definition of speed trap. Webster says a place on a road where the police use special hidden equipment to see drivers are going faster than the allowed speed. Milton typically doesn't hide. They're right on the side of the road, so how is that a speed trap?
I take full responsibility for the term speed trap. Yes, I use that because
It's inflammatory.
That's part of the reason I used it, because it's inflammatory, because that's the way I would see it. I would come from Randolph driving in a 50 mph zone in the Blue Hills in Quincy. Upon hitting the Milton border, it would suddenly be 25 mph, and passing through that intersection another 100 yards north, it would be returned to 45 mph.
Okay.
I understand that some dictionaries don't define it that way, but having a sudden drop in the speed limit for a very brief section is what I would term a speed trap.
It's also your duty when you have a license to obey what the posted speed limits are. And they're posted that way for safety reasons.
Yes, sir, and I'm not suggesting that I would break the speed limit. What I'm suggesting is that I would be subject, along with everyone driving along that road, to a ticket because we didn't slow down fast enough upon approaching the Milton border.
I'd question that.
But the heart of it seems to me, help me out here, that the heart of your argument, though, is that while everyone who goes through that speed change, everyone who goes through there is subject to being in that zone, you're implying that our police are pulling over people of color at greater numbers percentage-wise than they exist in that population going through the speed trap.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Right.
That's not what the uniform citation data says. The way it works is it compares the number of people ticketed to the population of the area. In other words, it's comparing the number of people ticketed as a percentage of who are black and African American.
The area is the town.
Yes, and it's comparing that to the population of Milton. So,
but if the population at that intersection doesn't reflect the population of the town, are the police required to write tickets by race in the percentages of what exists in the town?
No, there's no requirement at all for the
So what
police
use
to.
are these statistics to us?
Well, the statistics are what the state collects, so I didn't determine how they collect those statistics. The way that they do that is they compare the number of people ticketed by race to the number of people who live in the town by race. In other words, a direct demographic correlation. Now, clearly, the number of people commuting through through Milton is higher in terms of minority population than the minority population of Milton. That's what those numbers primarily reflect. This is one of the major commuting roads through Milton. Therefore, having more ticketing on this road would increase the disparity between the population of the demographic and the ticketed demographic. That's just the way that those numbers work.
Thank you for your answer. Julia's next.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gordon, are you the author of this document that we were sent earlier this afternoon?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay. So, my understanding of what you put in this document is that you are asking for the home rule petition to be withdrawn because if it isn't, the only thing that will be implemented on Randolph Ave is the 25 mile per hour speed limit, and Mass DOT will not go ahead with the roundabout. Is that accurate?
Yes. And, you know, I had a long discussion with several lawyers about that, because the home rule petition doesn't actually say don't do the roundabout. It only says put up a 25 mph sign. So I said there's a reasonable interpretation that you can say, okay, do the roundabout and put up a 25 mph sign. That is a disingenuous interpretation because everybody involved with submitting this petition initially and the Mass DOT, who are aware of it, knows that the purpose of the 25 mph sign is to replace the roundabout. So yes, you're right. The wording doesn't say that. It just says put up a 25 mph sign, which actually I have no particular objection to. It's replacing the roundabout that I have the objection to, and that is the understanding that the Mass DOT has, and certainly the authors, including the people who came to Randolph to explain it, explained it that way, that this replaces the roundabout. I agree that's not in the legislation, though.
So there are two different but related issues here, it sounds to me. There's the issue of the 25 mile per hour speed limit and whether or not you want that there. Well, maybe three issues. There's the issue of the roundabout and whether or not we want that there and what removing this home petition would do to that. And then there's the reasoning that you are bringing to us behind why you want the 25 mile per hour restriction removed, which is because statistically speaking, the Milton Police Department disproportionately tickets people of color townwide. Is this all accurate what I'm saying so far?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, so I think for our committee, you know, there's a few different issues here going on that are all related, but I think that I've heard a lot of people sound like they are doubting these statistics about the Milton Police Department and whether or not it's representative of Randolph Ave itself. Obviously, we can't know that, but I think townwide is representative of what is happening on individual streets, and I absolutely believe that they are disproportionately ticketing people of color. That's police departments nationwide are doing that. That's factual. So that's all for me for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Lori.
So my comment is related to what Julia said. My understanding, if I look at the bill, it's just the 25 mile an hour, which was done years ago through town meeting, well before the roundabout came about, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm wondering if we could ask our town administrator or our chief of police to shed any light on that issue.
Okay, we can make a note, we've asked Chief King to be here.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is maybe we can make a note, please, to ask those questions. And so,
because I understand them to be mutually exclusive. We can do the 25 and they'll still do the roundabout.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if in fact we did both, I would withdraw my petition. Because having the roundabout and the 25 mph, I think is a wonderful solution for the real safety issues involved. I think it's very appropriate to have a 25 mph sign. In fact, to have, say, a series of them with blinking lights or something leading up, because there's a roundabout coming that people won't expect.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Gordon? All right, so thank you. We're going to move on, but I always give the proponent of an article the final word. So stay with us. I'm going to, we'll ask I've asked Chief King, our Chief of Police, to address us, and then we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Chief King. Thank you for joining us at the Warrant Committee tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I actually don't have a lot to say for a couple of reasons. One is, I'm kind of late to the game on this. Good intentions. I appreciate the Warrant Committee reaching out to me, trying to get me up to speed. But, I was 15 minutes late to tonight's meeting because I had a 6 o'clock commitment. The information that I know a member on Zoom mentioned was sent out today. You got kind enough to send to me. I didn't even get it to read it. So I just read it quick here. I think there's some significant flaws, but I will bite my tongue tonight, and if need be, I will address those at town meeting. I'd like to, fairness, not have that rushed on me. Not that was done by this group, but I feel like, I only got a copy of the article yesterday from the town. So, what I can tell, somebody had alerted me to this issue, and, I wasn't involved in the town meeting that put this forward. I never spoke at town meeting. This 25-mile-per-hour limit didn't come from the police department. I never had dealings with Walter Timothy, who filed the bill. So whatever reasons were done, I really defer to those people. It wasn't done for any Milton police motive to either intentionally or unintentionally trap people. I know this gentleman, and I totally respect everybody, has opinions, and everybody can interpret data differently. It's easy to collect data, it's difficult to interpret, and I think that applies to every field, not just race of car stops. So I really would like to say a few things, but I think I'll defer until a later time so that, I don't make a rushed comment that I shouldn't make. But I do see significant flaws in that document that I got today. I think there's a lot of interpretations of the data that's referenced there. I think Mr. Humphreys, what I feel is a common sense point, I think really would be the substance of my argument that, the population of that intersection is not necessarily the population demographically of the town. And I think that's an issue. To suggest that, it's going to match the exact resident population is almost a bizarre concept to me, because those same cars who pass through that intersection are supposed to match one racial demographic at Randolph and Chick, but at the very next intersection in Randolph, those operators are supposed to be a different demographic because that intersection crossed into a more diverse community. It's ridiculous. It's the same vehicles and it's the same operators, but somehow the demographic data is supposed to change a mile up the road on the same road. It's illogical to me, but I respect other people who have different opinions. So, not really involved. I'm always happy to answer a question, and I'll answer anything honestly, but I just feel I'm a little late to the game. I'd like to prepare on such a serious issue because I do think we're referenced in a negative way unfairly, and I'd like to respond to that, and I appreciate the opportunity to, but I think, there's a time, place for everything, and I wouldn't want to do it based on something I read coming into a meeting 15 minutes late. I didn't hear his entire presentation, so it'd be unfair to him, it'd be unfair to you.
Let me ask, can I just ask, General, we talked about this during your presentation with regards to the budget?
Yes.
Enforcement on Route 28 in particular. I think there was a question specifically with regards to enforcement at Chickatawba and a speed trap, or enforcement there, the placement of units. What are some of the challenges that you face with the enforcement of speeds on 28?
That's a treacherous road. It's the highest accident road in town on that stretch. So just 30,000 vehicles per day on that road. The volume's a challenge. The layout of the road's a challenge. You just can't keep up with it. A lot of the accidents, there's speed and there's aggressive driving. There's things that, traffic enforcement plays a vital role in. But a lot of those accidents are, operator errors that happen in split seconds that the police, it's just difficult to enforce. The majority of those accidents at Randolph and Chick is somebody is sitting at that red light, and it's or green light, whatever, and all of a sudden, I can make it, and does a quick left turn. They might have their blinker on. It's a judgment, I can go, but that car is coming quicker than they thought, and they hit it, or they make the clear the first lane, get hit by the second lane. An officer could be sitting beside that car. He almost can't prevent that. That's not somebody on their cell phone. That's not somebody going 70 and a 40. It's a split-second decision. Can I make this left turn before that car coming the other way comes? Now, maybe, obviously, if the other car was speeding, sure, the police can enforce that. But if you look at the crash data there, a lot of it's just last-second operator errors. Car pulls out of Newcomb Farms and, again, misjudges and doesn't leave enough room in the car coming down Randolph Ave. There's line-of-sight issues. I mean, the roadway is certainly a roadway that's conducive to speeding, unfortunately. It's 4 lanes. There's really no barriers. There's no bump outs. It's a tough roadway. I think it needs a major overhaul in terms of traffic engineering and design. I think there's serious safety issues. That's a challenge. I mean, we've had all different challenges. They're not really financial. They're not budgetary. It's, we've had staffing challenges in the sense, our department went through 5 very difficult years of staffing, and we're just really getting up. And when that happens, traffic enforcement's one of the first things that kind of fall by the wayside. So there's been various challenges, but those are probably the main ones on that road.
Thank you. Jay.
Hi. So our guest said a lot of different variations. I believe one thing our guest said was, well, it'd be okay if we had a 25-mile-per-hour zone here, but not enforcement. I have thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on setting up a 25-mile-per-hour zone right in that area, but not enforcing it?
Well, it's a little tricky.
Maybe that's a loaded question.
Well, it's a loaded
seems like
in a sense. Like I said, I wasn't involved in the underlying article that was petitioned that, so I don't even know. I know we're talking generally the intersection, but how big is that 25-mile-per-hour zone?
That I don't know either.
It's really not in there in anything I've read. So, I agree. I feel most cops aren't looking to go get a sneaky ticket. Or, to be honest with you, it's one of the hardest challenges is to get police officers to go write tickets because it's a headache to them. You know what I mean? The biggest complaint I get is we don't write enough tickets on Randolph Ave. The complaint I get is when we're writing too many or we're harassing certain demographics, it's that we're not writing enough because people are concerned about safety. You want to encourage those officers to go do it. But I don't know an officer in my department that wants to catch somebody in a 50-mile-per-hour zone that suddenly drops to a 25 to go back to a 50 or a 45. They're not looking for a cheap ticket. They're looking to address a safety issue if we send them there. So if it's a small zone, it'd probably be very difficult to enforce because I think most people are going to be fair and they wouldn't harass people for that. Also, you need a big enough distance that you can accurately assess they were going over the speed limit in that zone. I mean, I just don't even know what the zone is other than in the area of the intersection. Is it a quarter mile? Is it a mile? I don't even know, so it's almost impossible.
I was wondering that too. I looked at the text of the law, and it's as vague as that. I didn't know if I was being dumb, if there's some general accepted size.
Yeah, no, I think I would need more info like you to properly answer you.
And I don't think I've ever seen, the only time I recall ever seeing, stationary speed trap enforcement is at the bottom of the hill, because you got to be able to pull people over. And 28, pulling over, doing a traffic stop on 28, especially on the downhills, could put everybody at risk, the officers, the drivers, people going around. The only place I've ever seen it is at the bottom of the hill, where you're going down towards St. Elizabeth's, where you can pull people over to the right into the neighborhood. Right?
Yeah, at Ridgewood at the bottom. Right?
Ridgeway. I mean, had you ever set up a stationary traffic enforcement at Chickatawit, at that intersection of Chickatawit and 28? Do you recall?
Not for speed. They'll do red light violations, something like that there. The speed would usually be after the intersection because, it is Quincy to that barn, if you're familiar with the barn going through the woods there. It's Quincy, but it's Quincy, but it's state police jurisdiction on that in-between stretch. It's not Quincy police. So, for us to do it, we have to do it after. So between the barn and the light, you're really not going to hit somebody for a speed. And you might have a red light violation, erratic operation, marked lanes, things like that. But you're really going to get your speeding violations beyond that. Some will grab them for safety reasons, like you said. They might, coming down the hill would be common, where you can flag them onto a side street. Or, to be honest with you, they'll follow them till they get up to the light by St. Elizabeth, and when they turn or go straight, it's just safer to pull them over there for the violation back there.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Judy. Julie.
Thanks. I think my 2 cents that I wanted to throw in is if we're really struggling to get people to stick to the 45 or the 50, I think then trying to go down to 25 without asking the police to really enforce that. I mean, I don't know how well we're going to be able to do that, right? If we're struggling at 50 and then cutting that in half, that would be my only 2 cents to that.
Thank you for that, Julie.
Alice.
Allison.
Hi there, thank you, Chief King. I really appreciate the service you give to this town. I just had a question. Haven't you had requests to add more traffic police officers, especially towards Governors, where people are cutting through and going over the speed limit?
We have, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you so much for your response.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Any other questions? Laura, yes.
I would just like to ask if you have any info on the MassDOT project with the roundabout.
I remember you mentioned that earlier. I don't know that I could off the top of my head without like getting back up to speed on the roundabout. I mean, it's difficult because I was not part of this petition. I never.
Well, and I think
so. I remember being involved. I mean, we've done a lot with, MassDOT. We've gone out and walked the site. Meetings about the roundabout, meetings about other alternatives. So, I remember all that pretty well, but I don't know the time frame of when that was relative to the original citizen petition, just because I wasn't involved in that. So I know it's 2018, 2019 on that. I thought the roundabout, as you indicated, was after that. But that's based on my memory without, double checking some of my records.
Same. Thank you.
And I took the occasion, I think this is relevant to your question, I took the occasion to discuss prior to this meeting with the town administrator the status of the roundabout. And the best we can say at this point is it looks like there was a commitment by Mass DOT to proceed. It looks like the decision has been made that the roundabout is the design they would like to see for the criteria that they have, and they are moving forward. They're at the environmental impact study stage. And so obviously they have not broken ground.
Correct.
Right? But we've seen them out there sampling the geography, the geology, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, so until it actually this is the government. So until it actually starts, it's not started, but it looks like the call has been made for roundabout.
Correct. That was my understanding. So I see this as an addition, not either or. So.
Right, and I mean, as it does appear that, if the Commonwealth, if the DOT decides that that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. And, our home rule petition, maybe there was an idea in the past that the 25 might somehow be able to stop it somehow or mitigate it in such a way that we don't get the roundabout. That idea looks like it's in the hazy past. Does anyone else have any questions for Chief King?
Judy and Steve have their hands up.
Judy, then Steve, please.
Hi, thank you. I think, and we'll ask anyone to weigh in to clarify, the house that's on the corner of Chickatawbit and Randolph, it has those big, Chief King, please weigh in too, those big boulders, because there's many of the accidents right there. Cars were careening into that lawn and fence, etc. I believe I read, maybe Milton Times, I don't know, that the house has been eminent domain to make room for the roundabout. So it would seem to me if that has already been processed, that the roundabout is pretty much solidified to go forward, because why would you take a whole house if you weren't going to go forward? I don't know who that question is to. Chief King, do you know if that's true, that they have already proceeded to acquire that small parcel to create the roundabout?
I do not know that that has happened. I was part of a walkthrough up there with a bunch of state officials and MassDOT officials and some local officials, and they did say there would be some eminent domain take-ins. That house with the boulders, you said, was mentioned, and then some of the property on each corner from like DCR. But that was conversational. That was within the last maybe 3 months, 4 months, but my interpretation was that that had not occurred, but that was like something mentioned.
Yeah, I think the house is actually vacant now.
I think it is.
Why it is vacant may or not be linked to this eminent domain. It was news that I didn't think I needed to know at the time, perhaps, and why I can't totally recall it perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to show, would it be all right if I share my screen for 2 seconds? If that's okay?
Yes, sure.
All right. So, just doing a quick search. Personally, I'm all about data. This is on mass.gov. This is crash data for the state of Massachusetts. I pulled it for 2024 all the way back to 2010. Fully integrated. I can zero in on Shakatovic, or however you pronounce it. I don't look in here. I'm going into that area you're talking about. You can see all the accident data. I sent you the link 2 days just a few moments ago. You can drill down into whether it's a bicycle or pedestrian, and it's pulling all this data. So I would encourage the group to take a look at it, and you can further query down to, sorry about that. You can further query down into other key pieces of information and understand. So I think, you know, as we're looking at this and we're building the story around what it's
I think you're frozen, Steve, or mute.
Hold on 1 second.
He's killing us with data.
Sorry, did you guys see my screen?
We saw the graph, and I will forward it. I just see you have it.
And you look very happy.
Yeah, I
He
know.
loves data. He loves
I'm
it.
having fun with my local internet supplier. Were you able to see my screen?
Yes.
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 Sorry. Carry on. Thank you.
No, not like in a bad way, but you went blank.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is that, you know, MassGov has a interactive dashboard with all this information you query down by town all the way back to 2010, and you can zero in on streets and looking at all types of metrics for this area. So I found it very useful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions for Chief King? Anything you'd like to add, Chief?
No, not really. Like I said, this petition references us, but it's really not a police petition. You know, it's a different issue, I feel. And,
Right.
I was involved, town meeting, I was involved with the legislature. And, you know, like I said, I feel we're referencing negatively for whatever the agenda is, but I will respond at the right time. But I'm not going to rush it to a meeting I was late for. My apologies, but, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'd rather have time to prepare, and I feel I owe that to certainly the members of my department and certainly to the community.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Your comments that you did make to us, I believe, will be helpful to us in our job. And thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Service. Thank you for your service.
Mr. Gordon, if you would like to rejoin us, as is my practice, we give the sort of final word to the proponent of the article.
Practice. So let me address a couple things. First, on the comment that I characterized that 25 mph and not enforcement would be good. Actually, I would consider that the worst of both worlds. because it would not make the intersection safer, and it's not a good solution.
I apologize if I misunderstood you.
What I actually considered the ideal solution is more roundabouts, not just one. I'm a member of Friends of the Blue Hills, and when I first heard about this issue a couple of years ago, I immediately went to the Friends of the Blue Hills, who have been working on a Skyline Trail crossing on that same road about 1.5 miles down, and said, why don't we ask for a roundabout at Skyline Trail, because it would solve the problem of pedestrians crossing through a hideously unsafe crossing, and perhaps the data statistics would talk to that intersection. I don't know if they count that as an intersection. It's a foot trail. It's the biggest foot trail in the Blue Hills crossing Route 28, and it is very dangerous to cross there, especially at dusk. And I proposed through the Friends of the Blue Hills to extend, and I proposed to Mass DOT as well, to extend the concept of the roundabout to the Skyline Trail crossing as well, so that there would be a double roundabout. The other issue I want to address is about the police motivation, and I certainly did not in my documents say anything about the police motivation, and neither does the Massachusetts citation data. I think they're extremely careful, as I was as well, to never try to judge what the police's motivation is. These are reports of ticket data. They're not reports of motivation of the police in any way, shape, or form. They're reporting on what actually happens when you drive down this road with regards to the police. And in fact, if you study the document that I cite, it has a very detailed section called the Veil of Darkness section, which is comparing police stops during daylight hours when you can see the driver to police stops during dusk and evening hours when you can't see the race of the driver before you stop them. That's really one of the major analysis tools that they use. With your data analyst available, I suggest that perhaps the data analyst show the police department that there is a big piece of data that's implied by these statistics. If you compare Milton and Randolph, if you are a driver of color driving down Route 28, your chances of being stopped in Milton are about the same as your chances of being stopped in Randolph. What differs is the number of people in the neighborhood that you're being stopped in. Once you're north of the Milton border, the neighborhood is something like 70 to 80% white. Once you're south of the Randolph border, it's like 70 to 80% black. That's the key difference in what the report is reporting. It's reporting the differential between the neighborhood and the number of people stopped. It's not reporting the motivation of the police. It's not reporting the targeting of anything. The reason that one speaker suggested that I'm mixing all the data together, the reason that in my head I feel that that's the appropriate thing to do is because what this data says is that the Milton police are stopping a lot of people who come from Randolph and Dorchester. That's really the conclusion that I would draw from this data, is that yes, they're stopping more people of color and giving more people of color tickets, but it's because there are a lot of drivers coming from Randolph and Dorchester, majority-minority communities, who come through Milton as their normal course of driving. It doesn't mean that the Milton police are doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that they're doing anything different than the Randolph police are doing. It just means that there are a lot of people from Randolph who are being stopped. That was my motivation for coming here in the first place. It was my motivation to initially, when I first heard about this 2 years ago, to write to my legislators, who are the same as your legislators, and to come to the Milton Select Board, who referred me to the Milton Town Meeting. It was all because it's clear from looking at that data that it's the people of Randolph who are being stopped on that road. It's not the people of Milton who are being stopped. Now, why they're doing that? Of course, it's obvious, because those are the people who are using that road. There's nothing judgmental about that, saying that the Milton police are stopping the people who are speeding. And some of those people come from Randolph. Of course they do. The issue is, what do you do about it? And what I'd like to do about it is make a roundabout like Mass DOT suggests, and adding a 25 mph sign, that's a great solution. Adding another roundabout, that's a great solution. Adding more traffic signaling further north and further south, those are all great solutions. The only one that's not the great solution is what I characterize, and yes, I do characterize it intentionally as a speed trap, because it gets people's attention to say, it feels like a speed trap if I'm driving from my home on the major road near my home to a major destination north of my home, and I have to suddenly slow down to 25 mph. That's what feels like a speed trap, and that's what bothers the people of Randolph that I represent. That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Judy.
Thank you, Dave. Just a commentary. Randolph Ave is a speedway. Any of us who dare to venture onto Randolph Ave to go anywhere, myself, I go further up Randolph Ave to cross over to where my house is. In other words, I go all the way down sometimes, just past Milton Academy, when I could cut off in 2 other places that would be more convenient to get to where my house is. But the fear, for my own personal self, of taking a left from the right, and the folks coming at me, I just stay straight, go down past Elizabeth, or if the light's good at St. Elizabeth's, I'll cross there. Otherwise, I go straight down to Brook Road. It's a dangerous road. Now, if I have to go to Randolph for any reason, it is my observation only, and I do go down to Randolph on occasion. Once I cross over the highway on and off, you're now going from a wide open road where you can fly down there with very little in your way of stoppage, such as a traffic light. And then you enter into the town adjacent to us. It tends to be very congested. I can't imagine anyone doing 70 miles an hour going down Main Street in Randolph. So, to me, it seems not a good analogy that the opportunity to speed is greater in the Milton section of Randolph Ave than it is in the Route 28 section that now you're in zip code 2368. Simply because of congestion. They have a lot of commercial. And it seems to be a traffic light every block. So the opportunity to travel at 70 miles an hour is greatly reduced just by, and I don't want to use the word topography, and I just can't find the word I'm looking for. But just because you can't gain that kind of speed. So I think it's a false analogy, in my opinion, that we target adjacent community residents. I have found myself driving on that road, coming back from, say, you get your vegetables there. I'm so tired, Dave. This week has really been draining. Where you get your vegetables and Newcomb Farms is across the street, and then there's a couple of garden centers. And so if you're driving back from there, and you're not really careful, you can go over the 45 miles without even really realizing it, without being at 70 miles an hour. Anyway, that's just a commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Anyone? Jay?
Yeah, there are a lot of side issues that have come up tonight. I don't think we're being asked to decide on the roundabout, which is good because I don't know anything about that. I don't see that this is mutually exclusive with the roundabout. I mean, I'm looking just at the text, which is our legislators are asking the state to say 25 mile per hour zone. That's it, period. So I'm focusing in on that. And I'm asking myself two questions. One, is 25 mile per hour zone around that intersection a bad idea? No, I don't think it's a bad idea. Whether there's a light or a roundabout or a dedicated left turn or whatever, 25 miles per hour around that intersection is good. And then there's the second question of, is it injustice? Is it a racial injustice? I do not know, but I would say if we want to address a racial ticketing disparity in this town, we should do it directly and not point to this intersection and say this intersection should not have a lower speed limit. If we have a problem with the ticketing in this town, let's address that directly, not point to this intersection and say, well, keep the speed limit high there. So for me, this is an easy no at this point.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone?
So is this like oh, sorry. Is it okay if I speak?
Absolutely. Yes, Allison.
Is this the discussion portion, and then we're going to make, so we are voting on the 25 mile speed limit, correct?
Why don't we, Madam Clerk, could you please call?
Yeah, that would be helpful, thank you.
Sure. This is the wording. I'm going to get closer to read it. I got the old chip in my brain, so I don't have the... It's Article 43, to see if the town will vote to request that the Milton State Delegation withdraw S-TAC 2301, quotes, an act establishing speed limits on portions of State Highway Route 28 and Chickatobit Road in the town of Milton, because it is a, in quotes, speed trap, and and instead to return to the original Mass DOT rotary plan. We object to the speed trap in the particular sense because it would exacerbate the Milton Police's disproportionate ticketing of motorists of color above the already established plus 30% racial differential as detailed in the 2022 Massachusetts Uniform Citation Data Analysis Report, in quotations, page 212, as submitted by, they list some of the citizens of the town who signed the petition. So the key here is direct. The Milton State Delegation to withdraw S-2301, okay? There are reasons stated. The members can have their own reasons, okay? But the vote, a yes vote, would direct the state, we would direct the state delegation to act in accordance with that, okay? Allison, do you have any questions? Is there, Allison or anyone else have any questions with the article here?
Steve.
Hey, yeah, just a quick question. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Clarification, a yes vote is for, can you clarify that one more time, please?
Right. So a vote yes. So there's all that language, but the thing that seems to be the action to be taken. The action to be taken is to direct our state delegation to withdraw the bill. Okay, a yes vote is to direct them to withdraw the bill. Ron.
I'd like to make a motion.
Ron has a motion. Ron, what is your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to have the warrant committee vote no on this bill.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tim's hand was up first, so it was Tim Lyons was the second. There was a motion made by Ron Sia, seconded by Tim Lyons, that the warrant committee vote no. So,
Recommend the town vote no on Article.
On Article 43. Now,
Tim was the second.
Tim was the second. Remember now, we're good at this. You vote yes to vote no. Yeah, this is why I get paid the big bucks. You vote yes to vote no, okay? Does anyone have any questions about that? So if you agree with the motion that Ron made to vote no, you vote yes. Are there any questions?
And we're all tired.
Oh,
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for making it easy.
okay.
That's funny.
Okay, all right. Madam Clerk, would you kindly please conduct a roll call vote?
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes, please.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Dave.
It's my custom to only cast a vote in the case of a tie, Mr. Gordon, so I'm going to abstain. Ron's motion for a no carries. Thank you for coming to the Warrant Committee, and we look forward to seeing you at town meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please, take two. You need two.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Okay. Where were we on the budget? Mr. Milano and I still use Ms. Is it Mrs. Dexter? Doesn't matter. Amy Dexter? Would you kindly please join us? I know we're going to need your help.
I believe you're on Article 6.
Article 6. Thank you for joining us. This is one of the part of the meeting that I like the most. It seems when it's a lot of the big decisions are done, the big votes are in, and then we can get to votes on the articles, and then be able to present the town a warrant that represents months and months of work, especially by the two of you. Because I think every single number that's in this warrant, and there are a lot of them, represents a lot of hard work by you. So thank you for your hard work, and thank you for being here tonight.
Two-way street, Mr. Chair. This committee puts in sometimes more night hours than we do, so we appreciate all of your work as
So
well.
thank you. So where were we? I think it was Article 6. Okay. I'm going to my Article 6. To see what sum the town will vote to appropriate for purposes of funding cost items not included in the department budget. It's recommended $895,000. Mr. Milano, can you help us out? Why is it the $895,000?
Sure. So this article includes wage adjustments for 2 collective bargaining units. The first is the Milton Professional Managers Association. So the department heads and many of the assistant department heads, as well as some other employees, are in a bargaining unit called the Milton Professional Management Association. Their union contract was settled about 6 weeks ago. So the departmental budgets have not been updated fully to reflect the wage adjustments to take their salaries from the fiscal 22 levels that they're at presently up to the fiscal 25 levels that they need to be for fiscal 25. So that includes, that 895 includes money to make that adjustment. And the secondary adjustment is still to be determined, and that's the outstanding potential collective bargaining agreement with the Milton firefighters. We have been engaged in negotiations with the firefighters for some time now. Those efforts have been exhausted. We are now at what is called the Joint Labor Management Committee for binding arbitration. We had an arbitration hearing on February 9th. Briefs were submitted last week. We expect an arbitration award by the end of the month of April. It is binding. It is out of the town's hands at this point. It is out of the union's hands at this point. Certainly, we could reach an off-the-record negotiation, but generally, where things stand is we expect an arbitrator to make a ruling by the end of April, stipulating what the award shall be for that contract, and that contract covers fiscals 23, 24, and 25.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to that? Jay?
Yes, my first question is the arbitration. So you said we expect it to be settled in April?
Yes.
So we expect it to be settled before town meeting?
Correct.
What happens if it's a larger number than we have accounted for in here?
That is to be determined. That is a risk with the arbitration. It's binding. It's a 3-member panel. One of them is a management rep. So if a former city manager, the other assistant city manager, I should say, the other is a firefighter, and then the third neutral member is an arbitrator. So that panel will make a decision. The parties on the record are very far apart. They're at 555, we're at 222, and that's on the record in terms of what the table positions are.
Okay.
The police agreement, as a point of contrast, was about all in was about a 10.5% over 3 years. So that's one point of reference where this arbitration could come in. It could be above that, could be below that. We don't really know.
Okay. So the 555,222, that's what, 2% raise per year, 5% raise per year? So the assumption that went into building this number, can you tell me what that is? Somewhere between the 2 and the 5?
It's what yes.
Somewhere between the 2 and the 5.
That's fair.
Okay. And this is getting into the weeds. I don't want to take into people's too much time, but this is the pay increase for the first year in the 3-year cycle, and then the second year, and then the third year. Now, the third year is what's going to be built on and going forward in their pay. So, in my imagination, if I'm understanding the math correctly, and you and I talked about this a year ago, about half of this, the first and the second step, are non-recurring. They're to make people whole for 2 years ago and for 1 year ago, and then paying them for this year, that'll be recurring.
It's not quite. So there's 2 elements of this. First is typically with these collective bargaining agreements, they do include retro pay. So the contracts expire June 30th of 22. We've been negotiating since June 30th of 22. And we've been negotiating since then. So the town will typically, usually, and has been paying out to adjust everybody's pay to make them whole from whenever the contract is settled back to when it was expired. So that's one payment that will happen. Mm-hmm. What this article accounts for is, in our budget, everybody's salaries and wages reflect the 22 salaries. So if somebody's salary was $100 in 22, now they have 2% increases. Now their salary is going to be $106. So we need to raise their budget by $6. So all of that is forever, and all of that is the new base upon which in future agreements and numbers will be settled on.
Okay, I didn't expect that. So, well, what about the previous 2 years and the retroactive pay? Where's that in our budget?
So that's in this year's budget, because it's in fiscal '24, because the award will be issued this year and paid out in fiscal '24. What we need to do for fiscal '25 is to get everybody's salaries up to where they need to be. So any retro payments will happen right now.
In fiscal '24, there was a Article 6.
Correct.
I think it was called Article 6.
Correct.
Everything in, okay. Okay, so the only thing in here is the ongoing amount.
Correct.
Thank you for your patience. I guess that answers my, I didn't expect that answer, but that answers my question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Is there a motion? Steve?
Hey, sorry. Nick, and Amy, great job. Just a quick question. What's the gap risk on the arbitration based on a number? How much is the risk for additional monies in that line item? Did you say 5.5? I'm sorry, I was trying to follow you there, Nick. I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, I don't want to get hung up on everybody's table positions. I think there is risk. It's kind of an unknown. Our argument was that, it's just also hard to talk about this since it's at arbitration level and a lot of it is still behind closed doors. So we put forward an argument that it should be lower than they think it should be. In terms of what that percentage difference could be, it's kind of hard to say. I think typically what you'll see is arbitrators will try to award awards that are similar internally, and so on our end, most of our agreements were in the 6 to 7% range. Public safety is and always is a little bit higher. We got a really important concession from the police department, which drove their negotiations a little bit higher. So how the arbitrator looks at all that and breaks it apart is kind of an open question. But at the end of the day, we've made our arguments. The fire union has made their arguments, and it's up to the panel to issue an award.
Thanks. And just a clarification question on that. So are you saying that total kind of this line item of 18.4, there's a risk of a potential 6% increase in that cost? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure what number you're referring to.
I'm looking at the table. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Strike it. 1 second.
It would be, you'd be looking at
Let's go at me on that one. I'm sorry.
You'd be looking at the fire department manager.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Fire department salary and wages would be the number to look at in terms of thinking about what that might change as a result of this.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I mean,
Jay?
Just to see if I understand it correctly. So the salary and wages for fire and the level services budget is $5.5 million. And what we're preparing for is for that $5.5 million to increase by $895,000. Do I understand that correctly?
No, because the 895 also includes salary and wage adjustments for the managers union as well. That agreement is locked in. It just hasn't been allocated to all the departments because of the timing of when the agreement was reached in the budget.
Thank you. Ballpark? Is that half? Is that? I guess it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's 8:30. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
It does matter. It just matters less and less the later it gets. 6. Any more questions on 6? Is there motion on 6? Such as?
I'll make a motion
What's your motion?
to recommend that $895,000 be appropriated under Article 6.
Lori Connolly made.
Raised from the tax levy.
Thank you. Lori Connolly made the motion on 6. Is there a second? Second. Tom seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Tom?
Yes.
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 Alice? Allison?
Brenda, or is it?
Yes, sorry.
I was trying to all that, there you go.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
I'll recuse myself just because my brother-in-law is employed by Milton Fire and I'm unsure who has the benefits in that household, so I'll recuse myself.
Thank you.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. 7.
Mr. Chair, I would point out that last year we did employee benefits last, just in case there are any other changes.
Is that still the recommendation?
Okay, can I make another request? I'd like 5 minutes to find an email related to this.
Fine. We'll table 7. 8. See what monies the town will appropriate to reimburse the Department of Unemployment Assistance. Nick, can you help us out with this number?
I'm sorry, Article 8.
8. Yep.
Yes, this is for, unlike private employers who have an unemployment assistance, unemployment insurance would pay into unemployment insurance, I should say. The town pays, the state pays the benefits, the town reimburses the Commonwealth when former employees receive unemployment benefits based on where 24 has been trending and has been. We recommend $1,000 in fiscal.
I'm sorry, Nick, it's a little hard to hear you on Zoom. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. So the town does not pay into unemployment insurance. We pay claims directly back to the Commonwealth when employees or former employees are receiving benefits based on where we have been in 24, based on where we were in 23. We do recommend increasing this appropriation to $100,000 for fiscal 25.
Does anyone have any questions about that? Jay?
I have a question. Last night it was stated that this was, we've been at 100,000 for a while, then we went down to 80, and now we're going back up to 100. And when this question came up last night, it was stated that that was based on a 7-year average?
I believe I said 5 or 7.
Okay, I mean, a 5-year average I get is $56,000. 7-year average I get at $62,000.
So you need to take out the COVID years because it was extremely low.
Okay.
And what else is driving it is fiscal 24 year to date is already close to $120,000, dollars, which would indicate that the trend is back to the 100,000 level.
Okay. I guess if I can continue, I don't know why we'd think there's a trend. I mean, it seems like a random number. It's some years it's high, some years it's low. I don't know if there's a trend. So what I would want your opinion on is, let's say hypothetically, we took the 100 and changed it to 80 and took that other 20 and put it into the reserve fund. Then here's the situation. If we do need the 100,000 in retirement, we get it from the reserve fund. Easy peasy. If we don't, then it's there in the reserve fund to go to other things, like if we need to hire lawyers. That would seem to increase flexibility with very little downside. Can I get your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think we would look at that $20,000 in that reserve fund as likely potentially going to unemployment first, but I wouldn't have a philosophical objection to that tweak in terms of having it in the reserve fund versus here. Alternatively, if it's here, we have an appropriations transfer option as well at the end of the year to take this and transfer it to another budget if necessary, if the trends are running below.
Okay, so it sounds like the main difference, at the end of the year, it could be shuffled around no matter what.
Correct.
Maybe the main difference is if we have a mid-year need, like Chase needs another wood chipper. If we have a mid-year need, we could use it from the reserve fund, but not from here.
appropriation transfers can also be made at any time.
I think it's the last 2 months.
Yeah, you're right. So
Okay.
there's more flexibility around the reserve fund. It's not something I would feel strongly about in either direction.
But I would say there is a 2-year trend of minimum of 100,000 because fiscal 23 is 115,000. Fiscal 24 is already close to 120,000, and we have 3 more months to go. So I would argue there is a trend at least for 2 years.
And to clarify, these are for people who leave employment not by their own choice? Am I understanding that correctly?
People who are no longer employed by the town and who have applied for unemployment and their claims were contested.
Well, we lost
Or lost.
when we contested them.
So if somebody quits, they don't get this? Or?
In that scenario, yes, somebody who quits on their own volition is not eligible for it. They could apply. The town would contest it when we saw the name. But in that scenario.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the time.
Amy and Nick, could you both pull your mics a little bit closer? I got a text from one of our Zoom people. Thank you. Okay, Amanda, you have a question?
She just lowered her hand.
No, it was to ask you to pull the mics closer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions? So Jay, what are you thinking?
I would like to make a motion to adopt this as printed in the sample warrant.
Jay makes a motion to recommend approval Article 8 as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Ron, seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please make a vote?
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. 9, to amend the general bylaws by inserting this. So there's this whole chart here. And this is one of those that happens every year. Every year we have to make an updated chart to make sure that it reflects the current position identification by level, department, municipal division, and personnel code. Okay? So this is one of those that we do every year. It's updated and checked and made sure that it's correct. Okay? Any questions about this? So a yes vote here would be to recommend that the Chapter 13 of General Bylaws be amended as follows to put this new chart in. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I could make one comment.
Sure.
I just noticed looking at it now, and I'll change this live, but when we recodified the bylaws, the chapter number changed from 13 to 61, so I've just made that adjustment to the article to reflect the proper new chapter number in our newly recodified general bylaws. Apologize for the confusion.
Wouldn't it be easier for us to direct our Milton delegation to have the chapter changed so that our warrant could remain the same? Maybe not.
That ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it's updated live now.
Okay, it's updated live. All right. Does anybody have any questions about this? Would anyone like to make a motion? Tom makes a motion.
That we recommend that the town will vote to amend Chapter 13 of the general bylaws and the personnel administration bylaws as written in the warrant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Steve?
Yes.
It was.
It was Steve. Thank you, Steve. Madam Clerk.
Tom?
Hold it. Jamie.
I just want to make sure everyone knows there's money attached to this as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Judy?
I think when Tom made the motion, he used chapter 13.
Oh, I did use chapter 13, thank you.
And I may not have heard you correctly. I'm sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
That's true. Go ahead, Tom. It's
The
important.
check on the bottom too, total chapter 13 wage adjustments, yeah, they gave you edit on the bottom as well.
Right, and Amy pointed out that there is an appropriation associated with this at the bottom, so this is in like two parts. The second part, that the town vote to amend the chapters, is that going to be the new chapter number? This one here, it says 13.
Correct. We'll change them throughout.
It will be changed
Let's change on the screen.
as set forth in the schedule in this chart
Awesome chart.
to appropriate the sum of 95, it says 95,000 wage adjustments effective July 1. Said sum to be added to the salary accounts in the following.
I think you're looking at an old one.
I think I'm looking at an old one.
$76.
76. Well, the one that, let me just check what I have. Right, yep,
2 minutes in a row.
thank you.
No, you're right.
76,000. So that's what we're voting on.
What's the other category?
There are a variety of positions that are covered. Outside of that, we have identified the bigger groupings.
Yeah, why don't we do a new motion, Tom?
Yeah, I'll correct, and I'll be more inclusive. That the Warrant Committee recommends the town will vote to amend Chapter 61 of the general bylaws, known as the Personal Administration Bylaw, as written in the warrant, and that the sum of $76,000 be raised from the tax levy.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jenny?
Yes.
Alice?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries. 10, public safety. So this is these several class categories: public safety, special services, fire, emergency management agency, police, for a total of, as displayed on that screen, because I think mine is maybe a couple of days old. The one that I have is $16,008,471.
That's correct.
Which is still the current. Okay, so a vote to yes on Article 10 would be for that sum for public safety. Any questions or discussion? Any hands?
Which number?
It looks like
Comment, should it be?
It says 3,000.
16,300 and then 5,000 from the dog
Oh,
license.
okay, I'm sorry. So we have to add those up, but that, you'll see that in a few of the warrants, a few of the articles.
Any questions, any discussion? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the public safety.
Lori made the motion. Is there a second? Tom seconds. Madam Clerk?
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
I'll abstain.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you. 11, general government. Funds as shown in the tabulation. Jay?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about the insurance line item, which we discussed a bit last night. So last night it was referred to that, I mean, that's a significant increase from one year to the next. Last year was referred to that that's what our, I don't want to scare, broker, consultant, someone told us. But I mean, that's not the why did it increase by 13%. So what can you tell us as to why this estimate is 13% higher?
So we had a 12% increase on general and general property and automotive liability as a whole, and that was driven by less so claims and more so just cost of construction and repairs and improvements and general cost of automotive improvements when claims are paid out. We have had decent claim runs in the past couple of years, but it is less about Milton's experience than about the broader insurance market moving on us. Workers' compensation is increasing, although we've had, again, good experience. Our salaries have been increasing, and as a result, our payments related to workers' comp has increased pretty quickly as it's starting to catch up, and there's an audit each year on our payroll. So we've been paying out a decent audit payment mid-year to adjust for where our payroll is. So the workers' comp includes an increase for cost, but also an increase due to overall salary rates. And then our other main, we have public officials liability, which is going up. I think that bucket is going up about 7%. And then lastly, we have what is essentially workers' compensation for public safety, police and fire. So if you get injured on work as a police officer or firefighter, you're subject to a separate workers' comp program. We carry a separate insurance for that, which is going up another 8% as well. So overall, I think it comes to about a 13% overall when you account for these changes that we're facing, which demands, unfortunately, the increase where we're at. Ultimately, our true renewal will be known closer to town meeting, so we'll know those numbers with more certainty by the time we get to May. But that's where we have them currently. And then lastly, there is potential for claims and deductibles, and we don't necessarily budget for a number on that, but that is just that's an unknown variable that can come up. This year we've been pretty solid, so hopefully that can continue next year. We did lose the classrooms at Collycott last year when a sprinkler line blew, so those are the kind of things you hope to avoid, obviously, and we've been doing okay this year.
Can I ask follow-up questions?
Sure.
Thank you. I mean, when I look at the budget Excel sheet, so first of all, when I look at police and fire, that implies that the police and fire went up by 50% from 70,000 to 110,000. Am I reading that? And you said it went up by 10%.
No, those are estimates that we had put in probably in.
Might have been before Todd gave us.
Yeah, so we have more refined numbers in terms of kind of where we're trending.
Okay.
So those are not final, and we can provide an update once we get a final renewal on those.
I was going to say, because the other lines are 10% per 10% per 10%, 10%. So, okay, so the 1456000, I hate to ask this, but that's not the most current number we have?
No, that's what we budgeted conservatively, expecting to bring that number down at around January, February. When we got an update as to where were things trending, it was stay where you are, and that's where we're at. And
so the update was pretty close to 14.
Yeah, not enough to move us. And hopefully, by the time we get to our regular renewal, maybe we'll have more flexibility. But right now, we feel okay.
Okay.
But it's not locked in.
Okay, so the 12%. I mean, I heard what you said. I would translate that as inflation. I mean, that's something people say for the past few years. It's inflation. If I were to have someone telling me the cost of your property insurance is going up 12% because of inflation, something to back that up? Like, at least make sure everybody else's insurance is going up by 12%? Like, did they give you something to back that up?
Yes, it is program-wide. We just had had a meeting to go through our claims 2 weeks ago.
So all the what is it, something? Maya.
MIA.
They're all going up by that amount. Okay. And then workers' comp. You said, again, I was hanging on this spreadsheet, which says workers' comp is going up 10% plus even more. That threw me. You're saying maybe that's not exactly on the money. I guess one thing I also don't know is, I expect workers' comp to be a percent of salaries. Not a workers' comp actuary, but I can pretend to be. I expect it to be a percent of salaries. So when I saw that go up 10%, I thought salaries haven't gone up 10%. But what I don't know is, maybe I'm just giving you an out. All these union contracts, which weren't settled a year ago, are settled now, and people's pay popped up. Maybe I shouldn't hand you the answer. Is that what's going on, or something else going on?
No, it's certainly a huge component of it is where are our salaries and how are they going up year by year. And then the other component is your loss ratio and what you're experiencing. And we've had folks who are out on workers' comp, whether school or town employees, and that kind of fluctuates. So they look back at a 3 to 5 years experience. As bad cases drop off, you get a better rate on your annual increase. So we're trending okay, and that is why. But we're not doing fantastic. We have a couple of claims that should fall off for our next renewal, which will improve things. But that's just overall where things stand presently.
Okay. I think that answers my questions. I guess the only other question I might have, which how often do we go out? I know I know a little bit about who we deal with insurance with, and that it's a good deal. How often do we go out for bid for competitive bids, or however you would phrase that?
No, we have not marketed this since I've been in Milton. I don't know when the town did it before. I've been here for a year and a half, so not since I've been here.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I wasn't involved.
I know this is like a mutual company that focus is on writing coverage for towns in Massachusetts. So it's probably the best we're going to get, but I don't know. I see a 13% increase to $1 million line item budget, and I want to faint. But I appreciate all the answers you have given me to my questions.
And I think year to date we're at 1,275,000 of the 1,000,003. Right? I think that was the number. So
yeah. Which that's everything, right? That I wasn't clear from your emails. What else are we going to pay?
It's not everything because of the fire and police that Nick mentioned. That comes in monthly.
Oh, okay. That's I didn't understand that from the email.
What is happening at the time? Okay. But just to
the other line items are paid off, but not that one.
The annual premiums are, but that one is not. And then just to confirm what you were saying is the last workers' comp audit we had was through June 30th of 2023. And that's all, they're going by actual payroll, which for all of the unions at the time was based on 22.
Yeah.
So that's part of the large increase in what we're expecting for 24, because when they look at 24's payroll to do the audit, we're anticipating a possible large audit adjustment because they would have based their premiums on 22 salaries, which are old and stale.
I think that makes sense. I think that covers my questions on general insurance. I have one more topic I'd like to ask about. Hate to dominate. And you know what that topic is. It's the veterans benefits, which have been significantly below the $100,000 budgeted for quite a few years. If you look back over the past decade, twice, the town decided to lower that budget to reflect the fact that we're paying a lot less than we're budgeting. To me, it feels like, I'm all for cautious budgeting, but it feels like this is way beyond cautious and just a place where we're sticking money that we know for a fact will be free cash next year. That's how it feels to would you like to respond to that? Would you like me to phrase it in the form of a question?
No, I look at it a little bit differently. I think Kevin Cook, our Veterans Director, has taken upon himself to try to think a little bit differently about how we do some programming. And, the Hometown Heroes banners that we're launching are being paid out of this budget. I think that's a worthwhile initiative. In addition, his benefits are running a little bit stronger this year than they have been in past years, and we owe the money whether it's budgeted or not. So if a veteran goes on to Chapter 115 benefits, the town of Milton pays out those benefits. We get reimbursed by the Commonwealth at 75%. But again, the money is owed off the get-go, so it's hard to not have ample money set aside for our veterans if those needs increase and rise quicker than expected. And then by the flip side, if knowing that, hey, let's go do an initiative that will raise awareness, put some banners up to thank veterans for the service, then that gives us a little more flexibility than I think we've treated the budget in the past.
Okay. I mean, banners are nice. I don't know if that's what this budget should be for, but that's okay. Putting that aside, I guess you're right. We will pay the benefits that are owed, and if 10 veterans come to town and tomorrow and ask for $10,000 of benefits each, we're going to be over this budget and we'd find it from somewhere else. So I guess when I look at, you're right, this year is running higher than other years. It's going to be about 40-something thousand. So, if we're running at 40-something thousand and the most a veteran would collect, is my impression, would be about $15,000 a year. So if, let's say, somebody moves to town, and so that goes from 40,000 to 55. Somebody else moves to town, that goes from 55 to 60. We're still comfortably under if we reduced it to 75. I guess I'm sort of thinking, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. I work for Eversource, and don't take what I'm saying as Eversource policy. I'm just saying in general, if it's a blue sky day, there's not a storm, if one line goes down, we want to have everything wired up so that your lights stay on if one line goes down. If 2 lines go down or 3 lines go down on a perfectly clear day with no storms, we might not have it wired so that your lights stay on, because the odds of that happening are minuscule, and because then everybody's electric bill would be 5 times as high. So I guess the analogy I'm thinking of is we might have one more veteran move to town and claim maximum benefits. We might have 2. We've got enough cushion in here to handle 2 or more if we cut it to 75. And I don't want to throw this in your face. I wasn't trying to be sneaky, but when I talked to him, he said he would be comfortable with cutting it to 75. He said that orally and in writing. Now, I know he then talked to you and changed his mind, but it seems like, I'm sorry, it seems like this is a place to park money that will then be free cash the next year. And I'd rather see it in reserve or something like that. Do you have a response?
I think we've chatted about it, and I think you have my recommendation, and this committee can make its recommendation.
Thank you. That is all of my questions about this article. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda had her hand up.
We have Steve, Amanda, and Allison. Oh, Allison just voted. Put it back up.
Okay, let's go Amanda, Steve, Allison. Amanda?
Excuse me. Yes, thank you. So I had a couple, more explanation than anything else. So there are a couple of places. So under the select board, what are general expenses? Because I see like other town positions are in there as well. So what makes up the select board general expenses, and kind of looking at the jump from year to year? What goes into that?
So, sorry, let me just pull it up so I don't speak out of turn. Give me a moment here. So general expenses are our operating budget. So a non-salary and wage budget. So it's everything else. And this year, we had an adjustment for So the main change from the prior year is a $15,000 intermunicipal agreement that we are in for a shared housing services officer. So this is 8 communities in this regional consortium where we have contracted as a group with a consultant to provide services that. So basically, it's monitoring of affordable units in town. So to ensure that developers are meeting their requirements under the law, to advertise, to put folks who meet the minimum requirements into those units, and to ensure that monitoring continues, whether they're rental or home ownership. It's not something that town staff have the bandwidth or expertise to manage, and we've partnered with several of the communities to pool our funds to have somebody on board to provide those services. So that's the major adjustment from the prior year. It was $12,000 in fiscal 24, and now it's up to $15,000 in 25. And the rest of the budget is just our general expense budget, copiers, professional memberships, exciting stuff like that.
Thank you. And then just as a follow-up to, sorry, I just lost it. When for law, so retainer fees stayed the same, and that's, I assume, for, the legal counsel that we've had. And then are the professional and special services, like where would the funds for, so for anything relating to legal services, like around the MBTA piece, does that come out of the professional and special services line?
Yes, there's two. So the retainer covers Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lahane's town council general services, day-to-day phone calls, small projects, public records, open meeting law responses that are covered under the retainer. When town council attends meetings, covered under the retainer. Special services is everything else. So if we ask town council, as we did a year and a half ago, to file a lawsuit against the MBTA over the stairs at Milton Station, that would trigger special services managed by town council. Our litigation with the FAA over flight paths, covered under special services. Labor council services, so that would be negotiations with our collective bargaining units, as well as the personnel issues that arise to requiring legal assistance would be covered under that. And then lastly, sure, any external and any additional and bigger legal issues, such as the Attorney General's lawsuit against the town of Milton, would be categorized under professional and special services out of that line item.
So do you feel that there's enough in there for what we're looking at?
Yes, we spoke about this at the select board a bit last night. So just in terms of, we have retained co-counsel to work with town council on the proceedings against the in defense of the town against the Attorney General. A lot of that work will be completed in fiscal 24. And a lot of the briefing work, we expect to actually negotiate, we're hoping to negotiate a fixed fee and to be able to share more information about that in the coming weeks that will essentially set up a contract for those services. And we expect to cover most of those expenses out of fiscal 24.
Okay. And then, sorry, my last question. So I know that we're looking at recommended for 25, but a lot of the line items, like there's big jumps between FY 23, to 25. Like it sort of was like went low, then came back up again. Was that, COVID related? Like even if you're looking at like IT, I think there was a legal piece, a few others. Sure. Is that like why is 23? Just for my own knowledge, like why is 23 so low and then so many of them increase so much? Was it COVID?
No, it just happens that these two departments are next to each other. So law did have less expenses in 23 than anticipated. In 23, it had about $100,000 turned back unexpended. In 22, as kind of the flip side, it was overexpended by $40,000. And we don't have 22 showing, we just have 23. In terms of excuse me, the IT department. The IT department had a vacant position for just about all of 23, if I'm remembering right, and even going back to 22. So the salary and wages there are low because the position was vacant for such an extended period of time.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Steve.
Hey, quick questions and kind of follow on with what Amanda just said to you. I'm looking at section 6. If I look at two areas, Nick, I look at town administrator and I look at other. I look at the FY23 jump to 24 to 25% increase, and then it drops to a 4% increase on that salary line. But if I look down below that salary, FY23 to 24 looks like 32% increase. So I'm just trying to understand too, why was there such a fluctuation between 23 and 24?
Sure.
And it looks like, and it goes back down, Nick, can you help me understand that?
Just one thing to keep in mind here is the 23 are actuals and the 24 is budgeted. It's hard to compare them to. In 23, I was not here for most of the year. Or no, what was I here for?
There was a vacancy.
There was a vacancy. I started in September, so that doesn't reflect a full year of a town administrator. In terms of the other salary lines, we had turnover in our office as well. And then going into 25, we've had transitions in our office, so there have been overall savings on the salary lines.
I appreciate that. That's super helpful. And just one last comment. As someone who has served our country for 6 years, I value holding the line on veterans benefits. Men and women serve their country, volunteer, and they deserve all they get. So I stand behind you not cutting it. I think that's not a proper request. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
May I address that, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This was mentioned last night and tonight. I would like to be clear. Nothing I've suggested ever would reduce the veterans' benefits paid. Not at all. All we're talking about is the budgeted amount that we're setting aside to potentially pay benefits. No matter what that is set at, the same benefits would be paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Allison.
Yeah, so I just want to start first before I even address that comment. Nick and Amy, amazing work. I know that all these questions and everything that you've done, I mean, Nick, your knowledge is insane. So I really trust the feedback and I really appreciate it because I know it can be hard to sometimes, kind of be challenged, but also you guys, you just do it with such grace and your expertise and what you've really done here. I want to kind of ask a question, so 23, I think too, wouldn't you say kind of coming off that tail end of COVID, we saw a lot of increases because we kind of were up and running at back to normal? Would you say that that's why too we see a lot of more going into 24?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't really speak to that change. I think there were, in these two instances, it's that we've been talking about here, there are very specific reasons. I think generally 23 was more of a return to kind of regular operating world. So I would expect that to see a jump across the board in that fiscal year.
Okay, great. And I really appreciate the legal because there are quite a few other legal situations that we're in. So I appreciate that that maybe the public's not aware of, or that we will be assessing funds to 40Bs, the Guile roads under litigation or arbitration, I believe, and with the conservation. So I appreciate that. And to look at, Jay, I appreciate your feedback on the veterans, but when I do believe that as a community, we should be, I don't think they use the expenses as much in those banners that we speak of and what budget they come out of. I think we could do even more to increase how they use those expenses. I appreciate how we budget, and I think that we have to give them more avenues so that we even use more of it, so that people are aware of how much, gratitude that we have for our veterans who serve. So as a community, it would be great if we could look not only to do the banners, but if we could do more. And would that come out of the expenses budget, just out of curiosity so that the public's aware?
Yes, I mean, in that case, we would look at the budget as a whole. I know Kevin would be eager to keep doing more and more, and we appreciate the ideas he's brought to us so far and the go-ahead that we've given him.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Are there any other questions? Is there a motion? Looks like a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Hoorah. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
That's Tim. Vote, please.
You're moving to recommend.
We recommend to spend what money's being...
5.33008, general government.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. 12. Boards and committees. Recommendation as per the table, $519,903. Any questions? Would we like to have a discussion? In the absence of questions or discussion, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt Article 12. Or
Ron makes a motion for a recommended yes vote on Article 12 as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Tom seconds it. Madam Clerk?
Tom,
yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carries, thank you. I seem to recall, did we do 13, 14 CPA?
No, I don't think
Nope.
so. I think the next one's
I'm thinking-
6.
Let's see. To appropriate a reserve from the Community Preservation Fund. Revenues. The recommendation here is printed out that the town's vote to appropriate Community Preservation Acts as follows. From the estimated revenues of $1,050,000. And then there's the budget FY25. You want to help us out with that, Nick?
I can't, Amy.
So Lisa Cool, a member of my staff, along with Pete Jackson, who's a member of the Community Preservation Committee, sat and we came up with the budget revenue estimates for FY25. And then according to the CPA law, there's a certain percentage that has to be allocated to each of the 3 reserves. And then you can also put 5% into admin costs. So that's kind of how the numbers fell out. And then we just put the differential into what's called the budgeted reserve. for future use.
Does anybody have any questions about that?
And the article itself looks a little bit different than last year. We did a little research into what other communities were doing and what DLS, the Department of Local Services, were recommending, and we felt this presentation was a little bit easier to understand what was going on than how it was presented last year.
Thank you. Did we vote on this? Because we had the presentation by the CPCA, by the Community Preservation Committee,
You did.
right?
March 11th.
Thank you. Okay, I think,
In one word, it says the CPC articles is presented. Does that ring a bell?
it does. I think that,
You're right.
I think that we did that. I think that we voted this breakdown. This is Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
March 11th. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, so we have a recommended yes to 13 and 14 as written, okay? 13 and 14 as written. 15. Public Works. I show recommendation FY25, $5,853,749. Would like to have any, are there any questions or discussions on Public Works to that number? Hearing no questions or discussion, is there a motion? Tim makes the motion. Is there a second? Ron makes the second. Madam Clerk, vote please. When you're ready, I know we're fine. Take the time that you need, please.
That was Tim and Ron?
Yes, Tim, motion, Ron, second.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison? Yes. Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, thank you. 16. Water Enterprise Fund. And to determine how said appropriation shall be raised, whether the transfer of available funds, borrowing, or otherwise, and act upon anything relating thereto. The recommendation, vote on the recommendation here. Appropriate. I'm showing $6,950,399 for the Water Enterprise Fund. $670,000 be included in the appropriations from the general fund for indirect costs and be allocated to the Water Enterprise Funds for funding, and that the sum of $7,620,399 be so okay. Yeah, I'm looking at a different draft.
We also have a proposed change, correct?
Yes.
I'm trying to just figure out what it is.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what's showing on my screen here is Article 19 with a strikeout on the 19. So, that should be 16.
Yes, and that change is being made as we speak.
Thank you very much.
Lori's that number?
16. Oh, which one? The
Just the.
No, no, it's not what's on mine. I have 7511088.
Change this. so-
That's what I have too.
Correct? Zero it out altogether?
Did you know that the Water Enterprise Fund budget represents the cost to provide Milton residents with safe drinking water?
That's what they want you to think.
Have you heard about the communist conspiracy of fluoridation?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's rewind to the conversation from just before the meeting started.
Must be filtered.
200,000.
It's to contaminate our precious bodily fluids.
No, Joe.
I can tell you that while they're working, my mother-in-law, who volunteered with MWRA for many years, the first time I met her, I was told, do not ask her about sewage. She will talk endlessly. Well, I was meeting my serious girlfriend's mother, so of course I want her to like me. What do? I say, tell me about sewage. And she talked happily. Sorry, back to you.
Thank you. Sorry for the interjection. I think we had copied one thing from last year's budget we meant to adjust. So in the, it's not up there anymore, but we'll make a change live here. So we had drawn down retained earnings last year, which is water-free cash. This year, we're using more of retained earnings into our capital, so we had intended to not recommend drawing down retained earnings as part of the operating budget and have it plugged in there. So we'll just tweak those numbers in front of you to get to where we want to be. Okay. Those are, or, no, they're not.
Yeah, we got it. Is that the wrong spot?
No, you're good.
So the new numbers are,
You're in the right spot, but I just don't know if you're working on the same document. Are you using the one that was attached to the email I sent?
No,
Oh, okay.
Karen, you're right. I was wrong. So I'll just say it out loud. Sorry. So the returning earnings line under fiscal 25 should be 0.
I'll pull it back up. I just thought it was the wrong one.
No, that was, I don't know what happened to me there. All right, so the retained earnings line where you are, where the green cursor is, should be 0. Yep, and then the line 2 above it, where it's 7061088, should be 7311088.
Right here?
Yep. Sorry to make you do that. There you go. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion there. Sorry for the math, but so Water Enterprise Fund, this is level service budget coming forward. We wanted to kind of get back to how we traditionally use retained earnings. not to offset the budget. This year, we're using retained earnings for capital. And as you have all probably noticed, it's been a very wet season and wet summer last year. So usage has not been where we had expected it. And so as we prepare for that, we don't want to overburden potentially the retained earnings, although broadly, water is in good shape.
Any questions? Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion
Lori makes a motion.
to approve the Water Enterprise Fund for $7,511,088.
Is there a second? Tom? When you're ready, Madam Clerk.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
Great. The next article, so what is the next article renumbered?
17.
17.
It says 20 here, I'll just change it.
All right.
Start with the 20 stuff.
All right, so I got 17 here. Okay, it is Sewer Enterprise Fund. The numbers that I've got are 8,461,415.
No.
Okay,
Sorry, I don't, we'll send, I think we gave Karen a more.
what do you got, Karen?
Up here, $9,131,415.
Do you want to put it up because you're still on water? Might want to scroll down.
Are you sharing your screen, Karen?
I don't know whose screen I'm sharing. Hang on. Is that funny? I'm going to stop and start over again.
Dave, I think the number you have is from 2024's recommendation.
Is that right?
Yeah, 9.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Look at that table. So I think it's just a wrong chart.
Yeah, I just updated this today, so if you're working with an older version, you would have last year's
Yeah.
number.
Oh, yeah.
Mine's different than that.
Pardon me?
That's
I have
what you sent me.
9492.
That's not right either.
Earlier.
Yeah, because that says FY24.
I think
I have 9492.
Yeah, this one isn't the right one either.
Oh, yeah, like what?
All right, so I'm on, okay, hang on.
Here, Karen, I have it. I can pull it up.
Yeah, 32424.
Oh, don't ask me.
That's odd because
It says
you had the right
FY25, so that's a good
water
sign.
one.
So, okay, 9492844. Yes. Sorry, everyone. Okay.
That's the right one.
All right, Sewer Enterprise, as written. Okay, I've got an old draft from earlier.
Can you reshare the new one?
Yep.
What if I just save it and send it?
Oh, yeah, I'll, yeah, you can do that. Or I can send it around.
Is this a good time to make sure everyone on Zoom has their camera on? Because if they're in bed, I'm going to be mad at them.
Yeah.
Good call, Jim.
If we have to be up, they have to be up.
Nine four nine two.
I'll send it around.
844.
9492
844.
844 and 00.
9,492,844.
Thank you.
All right, hold on.
I just emailed you, Dave, the updated one.
Thank you.
Karen has been updating as we've been going.
All right, the one that you just sent, Karen, is, that I opened is a different one.
Is it?
Yes.
OneDrive.
It's the 9131.
I wonder what, so I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to send the live version to everybody, so I thought I'd just save a copy as it was and send it to everyone.
Yeah, we'll sort that out. So I think let's stick with what's on the
Okay,
screen as the
okay.
official
Okay.
version, and it's what I have access to and he has access to.
Okay, so what you just received in the email, disregard.
Delete.
Okay. Article 87, Sewer Enterprise Fund. The number's on
87?
17.
17. Yeah, well, this is what the problem is. I was looking at this next number, which is 8,789,344 for enterprise fund, 703,500 being appropriations from the general fund for indirect costs and allocated to the sewer enterprise fund for funding, and that $9,492,844 be raised and appropriated as follows. And then there's the chart. And the chart has the sewer enterprise revenue, which goes to a total revenue of $9,492,844. And then they have costs that totals out to $9,492,844. So in this chart, total revenue and the total of the costs are the same. That number being $9,492,800. Well, you gave me a look.
I know,
That
but like,
was, give me the number.
okay, but let's
So,
ask for
so
discussion.
one more time, that number is $9,492,844. Would you like to have a discussion?
No.
You're going to crush that can. You're going to crush that can even if it's not open. Hearing no request for a discussion, is there a motion?
There's a motion, please.
And what might that motion be?
To accept the sewer enterprise fund as stated with revenue and expenses equaling $9,492,844.
A motion has been made by Lori Connolly. Is there a second?
Second,
Was that Julie Joyce?
yes.
Thank you. For the record, it's Julie Joyce. Madam Clerk, when you're ready. Thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison?
Yeah.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 18, stormwater. As written, that the town appropriate $1,091,080 for the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, $52,500 be included in appropriations from the general fund, in that $1,143,580 be raised and appropriated as follows. There's the chart. The revenue coming to $1,143,580. Costs resulting in a total of $1,143,580. The total revenue and the total cost numbers being the same. Would we like to have a discussion? Hearing no request for a discussion, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Stormwater Enterprise Fund as reported with revenue and expenses of $1,143,580.
Lori Connolly's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It sounded like Julie Joyce seconded.
That was me.
Thank you. When you get a moment, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison? Yeah. Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Nick, can you help us out with 19? This is the money that we receive under Chapter 90.
Correct. So we receive approximately, well, the exact number is there, $626,278 each year from the Chapter 90 appropriation. This funding must be used on roads, so 100% of it is turned around by DPW into our roads as part of our pavement management program. This just authorizes that we can go ahead and use that money for those purposes as allowed under law.
Thank you. Because I guess the point is that even though it's money that's earmarked by the state for a specific purpose, because it's part of the budget, it has to be approved by town meeting, therefore warrant article, warrant committee recommendation.
Correct.
Is there any discussion? Would someone like to make a motion? Tim makes a motion. Your motion?
To adopt it as written.
To adopt as written. Is there a second? Ron makes the second. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 20 is with regards to water system. What we can do, it's two parts here. One is to borrow and one is to spend. If you read in the comment, what it shows is that we are eligible for we can borrow the money through the loan. So what it authorizes the town to do is to borrow $596,700 at a 0% interest loan. That we're going to use that money pursuant to the chapter for purposes of our water. Is that fair for me to say that?
Correct.
Thank you, Nick. Is there any discussion, any questions, any comments on that? These are more the type of things that we do every year on a routine basis, but because it's money, because it must be approved by the town, we do it. Is there a motion? Tom makes a motion. What is your motion, Tom?
That the town appropriate $596,700 for the purpose of financing rehabilitation, replacement, enhancement of the town's water systems, and any costs incidental or related thereto.
Second.
So Tom made the motion for yes on Article 20, seconded by Lori Conley. When you're ready, Madam Clerk, thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carries, thank you. 21, stormwater. It's the appropriation for stormwater. Recommended $320,000 be appropriated for financing, rehabilitation, etc. stormwater system. Authorizing the treasurer to borrow $320,000 pursuant to Chapter 44. Is this a 0% loan too?
No.
No. Can you help us out with the loan?
This is just a regular debt authorization.
Okay, thank you.
We seek these and then they turn around to use it for the storm drain system.
This is just borrowing.
Correct, just regular borrowing, no benefit of a 0% loan. This is all outside of the MWRA, whereas the water and sewer are within the MWRA.
Yep. And so why do we do debt service on this?
It's just a way to extend our dollars.
Okay.
And what we'll typically do is, depending on the project, we might actually use a couple of appropriations a couple of years later to do one project, or if they have rolling projects, they'll use this to do just capital, based on where things stand with the pavement management plan and everything else.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it's to borrow and spend $320,000 for storm water. Is there any, it's Article 21. Is there any questions, discussion? Is there a motion? Tom makes the motion.
The motion is that we recommend that the town appropriate the sum of $320,000 for the purpose of financing, rehabilitation, replacement, and enhancement of the town's stormwater systems, including costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow $320,000 pursuant to the Chapter 44 of the general laws and all of the language as contained in the article.
Thank you. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Steve?
It was.
JJ. Ooh. Steve. All right. When you're ready, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Allison,
Yeah.
Julie,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Judy.
do you know, I don't have that screen up, and I don't need it up. How many more articles we have left to do? And perhaps how long it would take?
Right.
If it helps, I can say we're averaging about 2 minutes each. I'm timing them.
Thank you. So that we have like 1,000 years to go. This is
About 19.
So we're getting on 10. I mean, this is one thing that we could do. Like if there are people who just, or, you know, for whatever reason, family, health and safety, sanity, have to jet. As long as we can maintain a quorum, I would propose that we keep going. And then again, if there's just people who have to take their leave from our proceedings, that's okay. So I would throw that out there. I would like to try to get this done tonight. I'm willing to stay as long as it takes, right? If there's other people, again, family first. If there's people with children, etc., a crazy day tomorrow, what have you, as long as we can maintain a quorum, I would be happy to stay. Who's with me? All right. I see a bunch of hands. So, and then if anybody goes, it's okay. Okay? It's okay. All right? So all I would ask is that if you are leaving, let us know, right? So that we can just keep track of the quorum. Okay? That applies to our friends at Milton Access Television. We can run the TV from here on out if the
Dave, it's Julie Joyce. I have to call it a night. My alarm goes off early.
Understood. Julie, thank you very much for your service to the Warrant Committee. Semper Fidelis.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
All right.
Hi, Julie.
All right.
That was 2 minutes and 20 seconds, that discussion.
That's like, there's a 2 and a 2 there.
So that begs the question, Jay. Is there anything that you foresee is going to take more than 2 minutes?
Nope.
Oh.
Not I.
Bro, you're the one with the figures. Come on now. Thanks.
Thank you. Article 22, Health Sanitation. Recommended FY25, $420,252 be raised from the tax levy. Health. Any questions, discussion?
I have a comment.
Comment.
The Board of Health is like amazing. I had no idea when Carolyn came in and went through everything that they do. Holy cow. So kudos to them.
If I could interject, I did an interview with Carolyn, Ms. Gonzalo, with her budget. If I can keep it to 30 seconds. Jay, 30 seconds, is that okay?
Go.
There's half of it.
I did sit down and talk with her, and we talked longer than either one of us anticipated. She found grants for programs. An interesting fact, they are going to need a new vehicle, Nick and anyone else listening. They got into their vehicle one day to go do an inspection, and they clearly had it in drive, and the car went in reverse. So they got everyone out of the car, they had somebody come, they tried, the car went into reverse on drive. So they're out of a car, and they have to share a car, but when they go to get the keys, sometimes, this is kind of funny, but not, someone didn't charge it, so they really can't go anywhere till they find a car that's been charged. And I think they do a great job with, obviously they don't have their own vehicle anymore. And that would be a capital expense, they would have to go through there. But she's found grants for some innovative programs that she believes belongs to the Board of Health. She got a grant for English language learning, and I shared with her an experience with somebody who's really good at it in another town. They have it as a service, and it's an amazing department. And for all the time I've spent living in this town, had zero clue how effective they are. Every time you go to eat at a restaurant in our town, you can rest assured our Board of Health has made sure they are up to code. So get out there and support our local food businesses because they are safe. Thank you.
Judy, you want to make a motion while you're at it?
May I say something?
Yeah, Jay.
I appreciate what my colleague just said, and while we're all a little punchy and we're goofing around a little bit, I don't want anything I've said to imply that we should not have discussion. This is important stuff. I appreciate what my colleague just said.
I'm so sorry. I guess perhaps because I was being totally silly.
We're all good. We're all good. All right.
And you are our numbers guru. We rely on you for that. Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the Board of Health article budget, which I don't have that number in front of me anymore.
Thank you. And Tim Lyons has seconded it. So it would be Article 22 as written. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jay?
Yes.
I believe Allison's left. Allison? Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 23, library. Recommendation, $1,898,164 to be raised from the tax levy. Any questions, discussion about the library? Was there a motion with regards to Article 23? Tim makes a motion.
Adopt it as written.
To adopt as written. Is there a second? Ron's hand was first. Ron Sia is second. To Article 23 as written. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carries, thank you. Article 24, cemetery. Recommended FY25, $953,540 to be raised from the tax levy. There's also a statement here in the recommendation here, it also says the department is hereby authorized to sell or exchange old equipment to furnish additional funds for new equipment as part of the recommendation here. So the article is recommended 953540 and authorization to exchange or sell old equipment. Discussion, comments? Motion?
I actually have.
Lori, sure, go ahead.
Is that an unusual comment that they can sell or exchange old equipment to furnish additional funds? Seems like it kind of reads funny, to sell or exchange old equipment to furnish additional funds for new equipment? Are we just...
Furnish?
Are we trading in old equipment?
Sounds
And
like
are we selling it and then we're gonna use that money for equipment, but it's probably gonna be pennies on the dollar, so I think we don't say that in the DPW department.
Yeah, only that they're authorized to sell them. It's a good question. I'm sure that language has been carried forth. It's probably, I would, if we sell equipment and make the money, we can't use it without appropriation anyway.
So how it's been sold is usually the DPW, Tom helps, and they have to put it up for auction, like an online thing, and then the money comes into the general fund. Okay. So they can't just spend it.
Yeah, it seems like that. Okay.
The language sort of says, this language sort of says they can. It says they can sell it or furnish additional funds for new equipment. I mean,
Sales of town property are accrued to the general fund when general fund revenues can't be spent without appropriation. So despite that language, they would certainly be authorized to sell and dispose of old equipment. And despite the recommendation, the municipal law would trump in that case.
should we think about taking that out? Is that
The
risky?
second half of that sentence, yes, I would agree. And only authorize the sale of equipment.
DPW is stricter.
So I think keeping it authorized to sell or exchange old
Yeah,
equipment.
okay. We don't want to cause confusion if they can't.
Right.
And the sentence, Sarah?
Yes.
If I do, it's going to check.
The or exchange, good, bad, matter?
They often do trade in,
Oh, okay.
like when they're buying a new.
If they have a capital appropriation, it would be an exchange or trade.
That was a fascinating discussion of the cemeteries equipment. I'm glad we, thank you, Lori. Glad we had it. In light of that, are there any further questions or comments?
No, I'd like to make, well, I don't have any, but I'd like to make a motion
What motion might you like to make?
to approve the cemetery budget in the amount of $953,540.
Is there a second as to Article 24? Tim Lyons makes the second. When you get a moment, Madam Clerk, thank you.
Okay, Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. 25, Parks and Recs. FY 25 recommendation, $719,965 to be raised from the tax levy. Any discussion, questions? Lori?
It references Chapter 18 of the general bylaws. Is that updated with the codification?
Let's see. That refers to the revolving fund. Authorize the continued use of Parks and Recs revolving fund pursuant to Chapter 18 of the general bylaws, and that the town appropriate the amounts shown in the following.
It's Chapter 68. Good catch.
Whoa. Hey.
Yep, we'll change it.
I was going to say.
Okay to change the article too?
Yep.
Oops.
Work.
The final number, 719,965. So I guess the question is, so how does this work? So there's the revolving fund and the tax levy?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. So what's the interplay there? How does this work? How do they use?
So their operating budget that's presented here is funded from the tax levy, and then they supplement their operations beyond what you see here, as I think Kevin discussed a bit and Bonnie discussed a bit when they were here, with revenues received through the revolving fund for seasonal help, for programs, for rentals, and other initiatives that they undertake, and that those monies are accrued from field rentals and program fees, that if they have any.
Is that revolving fund reflected? Are those expenditures reflected in the overall master town budget that we get?
No, they're held separately. This is what you're approving here is the general fund budget. Though all the revolving funds that we have are separate and apart from these fund monies that we're talking about right here.
Yep. And who other than the Parks and Recreation Department is privy for reviewing the management of the revolving fund?
That would fall with me. I sign off on any expenses
You
from all departments
Yep. How often?
every week.
Every week. Okay.
We might not have an expense out of the revolving fund
Yep.
every week, but both Nick and I sign the accounts payable warrant, which is where we're paying vendors, or the payroll warrant.
Okay.
The biggest program paid out of that revolving fund is the summer camp.
Got it. Thank you.
And that's one of the more actively used. There are a number of other revolving funds, but aren't as active or as utilized.
Got it. Thank you.
If anyone wants to see a summary of all the revolving funds, it's in the town accountant's report and the annual report.
Town accountant's report and the annual report. We could look. Yeah, I was looking at it right now. Thank you. Any other questions, comments on Parks and Recs? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend the town authorize the continued use of the Park and Rec's revolving fund pursuant to Chapter 68 of the general bylaws of the town, and the town appropriate the amount shown in the following tabulation under the heading FY25 $719,965.
Thank you. Lori Connolly has made a motion as to Article 25. Is there a second? Tom makes the second. Madam Clerk, when you are ready, thank you.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
Thank you. 26,
Done.
schools. I think we did that one.
Last night.
27, Blue Hill Regional Technical School to appropriate recommendation FY25 $813,159 from the tax levy. Any questions about Tim?
You just pay that per student, or is it a lump sum every year?
It's per student, but it depends upon the number of students attending from Milton, but the ratio could change if more students from one of the other 8 districts attend, if that makes sense. So they look at the total
So it's shared.
population, and then you get a percentage that's based on the number.
Thank you.
And there is a capital allocation as well. That's a little separate from the operating element, but that's all rolled into the assessment that we receive on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Blue Hills Regional Technical School as reflected in Article 27? Ron?
So it looks like the enrollment dropped pretty substantially. Is that a surprise? Is that bad?
I think it's actually more likely that we're back kind of what is more typical. And last year's enrollment at 51 was a little bit outside the norm, but it does fluctuate, and I don't know that it's really been consistent one way or the other.
From year to year in the past, I think it's fluctuated, but not as significantly. But you can see, like, from 23 to 24, it went up, and now it's back down a little bit closer. Glenn could probably answer that better.
Good recruiting.
If he knew what. Excuse me?
Good recruiting in 24. So.
Any other questions or discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend
Lori.
that the town appropriate $813,159 for
Second.
the Blue Hills Regional Technical High School.
Thank you. Ron seconds. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Rocket. No, it's fine.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
Carries. 28. Consolidated facilities. Recommended 25 in the chart. Entitled Consolidated Facilities. $1,311,012. That's Article 28. Any discussion, questions? 28 consolidated facilities to be raised from the tax levy. Motion. Tim makes a motion.
Adopt as written.
Adopt as written. Second. Ron.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
29, appropriation for interest and maturing debt. As reflected in a recommendation in the chart entitled Interest and Maturing Debt, in the amount of $5,817,961, of which $250,000 would be appropriated from funds released from the overlay reserve, $5,265,029 to be raised from the tax levy, and $302,932,000 to be transferred from the Special Purpose Debt Stabilization Fund. Are there any questions with regards to the foregoing in Article 29? Motion?
I move to approve it as shown on the screen.
Thank you, Jay. Jay has made a motion to approve Article 29 as written. Is there a second? Tim seconds.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
30 is to rescind authorized but unused portions of the amounts authorized to be borrowed. So what we're doing is we're rescinding authorized but unused portions of amounts authorized to be borrowed, and to act on anything relating thereto. So what the chart shows a series of projects that were authorized, the amount that was authorized, and the amount of unborrowed monies to be rescinded. Right? I think one of the reasons why we do this, we're only allowed to borrow so much. Why do we do this, Nick?
Well, it's more on, sorry, you go.
Or Amy?
It's like housekeeping. If
Housekeeping.
you can, the law, you have like, I don't know how to say it, so maybe you need to. The more you have outstanding credit,
Yeah.
Right.
if you don't need it, you should.
Clean it up.
Yeah,
Clean it up.
basically.
All right, clean up in aisle 3, which we'll call Article 30. Do I get a motion on our, do we have any conversation, discussion we want to have on Article 30? Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt it as shown on the screen.
Jay moves we adopt Article 30 as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Tim seconds.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes?
Motion carries.
Article 31, appropriation FY25 for stabilization. In this case, the amount is 0. I think we've kind of talked around this one a lot. This is one of the ways we got to a balanced budget. Jay?
I'll just throw in, I know there was a lot of consternation, or there was a lot of emotion about the fact that we're not contributing anything this year. I think that, we're hoping that there will be a long-term plan going into what is likely to be an override next year with not only, what are we going to contribute this year, but long-term plan. I think that we can all rest assured, not only rest assured, I think we'll all be a part of setting that policy starting next year if there's an override.
Thank you for that, Jay. Any other comments, discussions, questions? Motion? Ron makes a motion. Ron moves to adopt
the article
31 as written. Is there a second? Tim?
Tom?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jay?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes, and if I could, I have to sign out.
Yes, Judy.
Problem with a quorum.
Nope, we're good to go. Thank you for your help, Judy.
Thank you. Good night, all.
All right, good night. 32, Other Post-Employment Benefits Liability Trust Fund. We're going to appropriate to said fund to reduce the unfunded actuarial liability of healthcare and other post-employment benefits. Here, the recommendation is $1,500,000 to be raised from the tax levy. Jay, did you have?
I'd like to say I think this is a good and prudent thing we're doing with our town's budget. I would like to thank the two people sitting to my left for formulating the policy for funding this. And I'm so pleased we're doing this. And I would like to make the motion that we approve it as written.
Thank you, Jay. Is there a second? Tom?
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Kristen?
Sorry, yes.
It looks like she's here. I'll come back.
Kristen's saying yes,
Oh,
but you
she-
can't.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Judy is gone, sorry. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, if I could interject for 1 second. Jay was modest. He played a big role in our OPEB policy. He played a big role in flagging that pension may hit full funding 2 years ahead of schedule, and we are very grateful for the time he puts in his ideas and thoughts. So he was too modest. So we appreciate his work, and outside of a warrant committee meeting, he's always keeping an eye out on all things Milton budget, so we appreciate that.
Whoa, I'm getting a little verklempt. Big round of applause for Jay. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you for saying that.
33. Reserve fund for extraordinary or unforeseen expenditures. Recommendation, $250,000, and to meet said appropriation be appropriated for funds certified by the Department of Revenue as free cash. Okay, $250,000 out of free cash. Article 33. Questions? Discussion? Motion?
I move that we approve it as shown on the screen.
Jay moves as written. Second? Tom?
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia? Yes. JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 34. We got to, so some of these revolving funds we've been talking about, we need to authorize, the town needs to authorize, so we would vote our recommendation with regards to, and determine the programs and purposes for each, the departmental receipts which shall be credited for each, the board department or authorized to expend money from each, and a limit on the total amount which may be expended from each. There's a recommendation in the chart. So the chart has the criteria: department, purpose, revenue source, limit. There is a chart here which has them all. It has the revolving funds with regards to park, library, select board, board of health, board of library trustees, cemetery department, conservation commission, select board, consolidated facilities, planning board, and select board, and cemetery. Any questions, discussion with regards to revolving funds as contained in the chart?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Are these limits set by the articles that they're mentioned as fixed limits? That they don't change, or do they change over time with inflation? And so, like, one of these is from 1996. I was worried that that's so old.
The limits were reviewed. So a few years ago, the law changed on how revolving funds were to be set up. So everything was reviewed and updated then. So those are more current. And the department is allowed to exceed those limits by a vote of the select board and the warrant committee. So in a fiscal year, if they expect or might hit that threshold, they can come to the select board and warrant committee and ask for approval to go beyond it.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'd like to make a motion.
What motion would you like to make, Ron?
I'm going to read this whole chart. Adopt the article as shown.
Article as shown by Ron. Is there a second?
Second.
Lori Connolly makes a second. It's on Article 34.
Tom?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 35. PEG.
Very close.
So this is the appropriation from the PEG Enterprise Fund to do the following: support of public, educational, government access, cable television services, monitor compliance, cable operator, prepare for renewal of franchise license. And the request here is $500,000 from the PEG Access Enterprise Fund. Any questions about that? Tim?
Verizon isn't in this at all? Is it because they don't have TV, not just internet?
Yes, Verizon is in town offering Fios internet, but because it's not cable TV, they have no obligation to pay into this. And they don't have any cable subscribers that are paying the fee. Residents and subscribers pay the fee. It's not like it's Comcast giving us money. It's on all of your bills if you want to take a closer look. But where else would we be without Milton Access TV? So
They need more money.
Yeah. Can we vote them a raise?
No, like, I have older neighbors who can't go on Zoom, and stuff clips on Comcast.
Yeah.
Like, it'll freeze and the voice drops out. The picture just totally freezes.
Yep.
And it will jump like 30 seconds ahead.
We'll
They know about it.
pass it on.
They said they need more money.
Put that in the budget next year, in September.
So just to be clear, this is our estimate of their portion of the fees. So we get fees from the cable companies, and per the contracts with them and the agreements, we then pay a portion of that, a percentage of that, to Milton Access TV. And I did run this article by Shane Brandenburg, just to make sure that it looked reasonable to him as well.
Well, if Shane says it's reasonable, I mean, I'll make the motion. Wow. I make the motion in the name of Shane Brandenburg that we approve Article 35 as written.
Second.
Steve, he gets it.
For Shane.
For Shane.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Motion carries.
For Shane. Article 36.
Take it down, right?
This is easements. To accept on behalf of the town any and all easements. Again, standard every year, so they can sign off. Any questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve Article 36 is written.
Second.
So Lori made it, Ron seconded it. Article 36.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Allison, no. Jay,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
37, stretch code. We did that one. 38 was the Pope's Pond. Or no, 38 was the
Cortland.
Conservation Commission. I think those were the lands over by the highway.
Cortland Circle.
Cortland Circle, yep, those, right? So that's done. 39, renumbering of the articles, that was done, or was not done. That's back. 40, local historic.
So
that is long.
We didn't do, oh, sorry, we're still doing stuff.
You can speak.
I was just going to say, don't forget, we skipped the employee benefits one.
Yeah. Just
Thanks, Jay. So I think we've done them all, except for employee benefits one.
It was number 7.
Sure, they have a copy of the
What's that?
Historic Commission. They have it.
What is,
I just want to make sure that the draft.
yeah. I don't know. I'll make sure. Okay, we're going back to employee benefits.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump off because I have to, this is Kristen, I have to recuse myself anyways.
Yes.
So I'm gonna sign off.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Did we do 41 and
42?
did we do the master implementation thing last night? Did we vote on that?
Yes.
Yes.
We did, okay, sorry, I had a brain cramp.
No. Yeah, no, we did that. We did 41. 42 was Pope's Pond.
Right, yeah, the others were from before, I just couldn't remember 41.
Yep. That was from the other one. And then we did 43 tonight, which is a citizen's petition.
Yeah.
So we've run through the whole thing, and now we're just going back to the last one, which is outstanding. Madam Clerk, which one was that again?
I think it was number 7. I'm sorry.
7?
Employee
The
benefits.
one that you asked for? Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
Article 7.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wanted to triple check a number, and of course the number is correct. So thank you for indulging me. So I would like to make the motion that we approve Article 7 as is written.
Wait, I have a question though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I still want to go back to the page you told me not to read.
Oh, I admit you could skip it.
You can skip it.
You can skip
I'm like,
it.
what? Are you kidding? This was the best page.
Oh, I agree. That's why I put the little picture of the all my stars and garters at the bottom.
Exhibit provided by Amy Dexter. All right, so this is part of this article relates to the holiday that I'm still struggling with a little bit. So I guess my question would be, have we ever given a holiday in order to balance the budget?
I don't know this answer.
We haven't, and that's not why we're doing the holiday this year either.
So
it may appear that way because of the timing of when we suggested it, but the purpose of the holiday is the balance in the fund is getting very high. So.
And I understand that. So my conversation in our previous meeting was, couldn't we find that the money, the 394,914 is the number that we want to reduce that by, but would
it's not the holiday though.
Is that? Oh no, because we're going to end up with like 450,000.
So the holiday is already reflected in this number.
Okay.
In the 13,875,000, but it's also been further reduced by the 394 because we're using the ARPA funds revenue. We're using the ARPA funds against this item.
So it's back to my original proposal was can't we take the money that we're getting from the holiday by this town saving by not putting money into the trust, use that same amount and back into the 3%, so it's 2.7 or 2.6 to have a lower premium instead of not making one payment. The money doesn't mess up the budget, it's just a different process without having a holiday. And then my second question related to that is, these are the employees don't pay in, right? But they don't pay in during the holiday, the free holiday. Is this medical trust, the health insurance trust, that includes retirees as well, is that correct? So do the retirees get a holiday as well? Because money's not coming out of their paycheck. So when we don't make the payment and we don't take it out of their paycheck, are the retirees getting the same benefit?
No, right now we're planning to have it as the active plans are the ones that are most volatile, the ones that may be the most expensive, that make up the lion's share of all of our claims and costs. And so it would be a premium holiday for active employees with active plans.
And wouldn't we want the retirees to get that benefit as well? Because, they've had contributed in.
That's how we've approached it as a holiday for the active employees, and that's how the numbers kind of shake out the way we've set it up.
I thought that's why you want to do it within some reasonable amount of time and you don't hold that cash for too long. Because I think you mentioned that the population that paid into it is most likely still employed.
Yes, and there are very few retirees on a plan. Most of them are on a Medicare, I don't even know the terminology, and I'm going to mess it up. But the
post-65.
Yeah, managed blue for seniors, MedX.
So the additional supplementary plans that you get at Medicare level.
All right, so retirees would not be affected by this.
Correct.
And they're not going to be mad about not getting a little benefit like the active employees.
I think it would be people who no longer employed.
Right, they're retired, but they.
There are people who are not employed but aren't retired, right?
Correct, but this is the retiree plan versus, right, because they are on the plan.
Correct. There are a few who would be not of Medicare age, but who are on a regular health insurance plan. Correct. There may even be some of Medicare age, depending on this family situation.
Okay.
I think we didn't answer your first part. The
To
first
reduce
part of your question.
So my question was, back to, would you consider adjusting the rate so you get the same amount of money so it doesn't affect the budget at all, but just adjust the rate? So instead of
So a negative
3%,
premium.
it would be just a slightly less or whatever that amount is in order to not have a holiday. The holiday really bothers me for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a thought on
Well, just the points that our advisor from cooking companies, we've done that in the past where we just didn't have an increase in the premium at all. We went with a 0 and she didn't advise us to do that. She felt the best mechanism to reduce the trust was through a holiday. Our proposal is doing a little bit of both.
Okay.
We're doing a 3% premium increase, even though it was recommended that we do higher.
Right.
And one pay period holiday, which we're paid bi-weekly. So it's a half a month.
May I share my thoughts on that? I have two thoughts. One is going to what Amy said. I mean, if we think, going back to the analogy of the bucket, you've got water flowing in, that's the premiums, you've got water flowing out, that's the claims. And you want it to be about the same. Now, if it's too high, the premium holiday is like taking a ladle and scooping some out to get it to the level you want. The lowering the premiums is like squeezing the hose so that, okay, then the flow out and the flow in is not equal. It's sort of like the flow out and the flow in to be equal. I mean, I'm not horribly against your suggestion. I'm just saying if you had to weigh the two, it's nice when the money going out and the money going in is about equal, and you use a ladle to take out the amount that's too much. The other way, and small, but is the employees. The employees have their personal budgets to deal with, and if one paycheck, they say, ooh, I get an extra high paycheck, that's fine, but month in, month out, they're budgeting their lives. Now, let's say the year after this, the premium is going to be whatever it's going to be. If we have a small increase this year, and then a small increase next year, forgetting about the premium holiday, because that was just a bonus, then they're better able to deal with their personal budgets. If we have no increase this year and a bigger increase next year, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's a little harder for them.
I was assuming, and I could be wrong because I didn't do the math, that the number would not be a 0. It would be like a 2 point something.
No,
I think it would be pretty close to 0.
Yeah, it
Oh,
might
really?
be. Yeah.
Okay, I did not.
Sorry. No, we could have.
Yeah, I thought it would just, no, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
But does everyone understand the comment about the ARPA funds? So we're really going to spend $394,000 more for the group insurance, but we're using ARPA grant funds.
And that's the last of the ARPA, we think?
As of right now, yeah.
Yeah, that's the last of the unallocated federal funds that we have. As projects are winding down, we'll be reassessing where some of those balances are. But as things stand, unallocated monies, that's the unallocated portion.
And I didn't realize that the insurance company had recommended that holiday.
Yes, she thinks that's a better mechanism to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that in our first conversation about it. So thank you.
Can I second Jay's motion if he still wants to make it?
I do.
All right, Jay makes a motion, Ron seconds it.
Tom,
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
JJ?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I abstain, and for the record, I abstained on every vote that we took in the warrant article so that the record can reflect as such. Thank you.
So, tomorrow night? Are you meeting?
No, we'll cancel for.
Okay, so next week.
Thank you. We'll cancel.
Are you guys working on comments that you might need help?
Someone's it's full of bubble gum.
I think it's.
Bunch of little kids.
We've updated a lot of them. Amy did a bunch, I did a couple. I'll sit down and take a look again tomorrow and the next day and keep plugging away. And so we have the live version, obviously, that Karen was working on. So whoever should get that, we can distribute it broader. We sent it to Karen.
Yeah, I can't share it.
Amy can share.
Yeah. So Dave should definitely have the version. Great.
Yes, please. I think what we want to try to do, you see how we get and how we start sharing things.
Yeah.
So I think what we're gonna try to work something out, like where people get stuff to me or to Karen. We put it in, we try to limit how many, right?
Okay.
But we're working on getting it done. So, right. So if you were on like a committee, we'll ask, we talked to department heads. If you were a committee, a non-committee that talked to the public head, the department heads, we're going to ask you to take the lead on the comment. The comments from years prior are already loaded into the warrant as a go-by, and a lot of them, it's just changed the date, changed numbers, and a lot of them, the numbers have already been changed.
Yeah, we did a lot. I did a lot of them, but if they were more complicated, that I knew that this committee, like DPW, I didn't really touch that one because I think historically we kind of take Chase, or this committee takes Chase's comments and condenses them down. So there's certain ones we didn't touch at all, but the easy ones or some of the harder ones that I knew you might need our help, we probably made some changes for you to look at, and then if you want to elaborate further or whatever.
Yeah. So we'll get that done. We'll get it done.
Reach out.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? So we'll cancel tomorrow.
Motion?
Yes.
Tom has a motion. Seconded. Any objection?
That's what's cool.
That's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.